Welcome to the Junkyard Love Podcast.
At what age do we learn how to have better conversations? At what age do we learn to have better conversations with ourselves?
Welcome, my friends. You found the Junkyard Love Podcast. I'm super glad you're here. First things first, I always like to start out something with a good, positive, make you think differently, make you go and do something that switches your mind, changes your perspective. Today, I'm going to suggest articlesofunity.org. Articles of Unity 2020. Check that out. Just search it. Just figure out what it is. There's going to be a short video. Watch it. Check that out. See how it makes you feel. For me, it's like, man, it makes me feel like somebody's out there actually taking care of us. Somebody's out there actually trying to brainstorm. Somebody's out there being smart. Somebody's out there trying to fix this crazy conundrum our entire culture and society and in place of home is facing. So check that out, Articles of Unity. And then also a few other quick things. Sober October. October is coming up. We've got the elections coming up right at the end of October, beginning of November there. I think it's going to be the most maddening, ridiculous, awful, terrible time for people to communicate with each other. And in light of that, I would like to launch and try to just have everybody that wants to be involved do your form of Sober October. What I'm going to do, and I have some friends who are doing their own versions, and we'll get together and hopefully explain that more in the coming weeks. But I'm going to give up caffeine for 31 days in October. I'm going to do no drinking. I'm going to do no marijuana. I'm going to do no social media. And a couple other things. I'm going to basically have a list of Lent that I am giving up for October. And this is for mental health. This is to take care of myself. This is to grab my own life by the horns. I've done these 30-day, Lents before. And they're just great because they just really remind you that we're just a sack of habits and we get sucked into our routines and we get sucked into sometimes doing the things that we don't want to do in light of instant gratification. So whatever you want to do, just get thinking. If you're the one in your friend group, if you're the homie in the friend group, that's the alpha, the group leader, the person who kind of gets everybody on board, send that text message. Say, yo, you guys want to do our own version of Sober October together? We could create ripples. Joe Rogan does this with his friends, and they do their own versions. If you eat 5 candy bars a day, well, the month of October, try eating 4 a day. Just do your thing, man. Just find your edge and push against it. Whatever you can give up just a little bit, find your edge and push against it. It'll make you a better person. So Sober October, there'll be more info on that pretty soon. Something you could do as a listener, as a fan, as a friend, as a person who gets benefits from any of the conversations that I hold. I, of course, offer these podcasts freely, and I'm so happy to do that. But if you could just share and just tell people about it and just, maybe take some screen recordings of a certain section that you liked, just tell people about it, talk about it. Show it on your social media, whatever you got to do. And the same for these other guys, for these other creators. We do a lot of this because it's our passion. It's what we feel is right. So if you could share it, I'd really appreciate that. Do your thing. One last thing, the beginning of the episode, the first 55 seconds, I haven't fully mastered the art of 3-person podcast. My interface isn't exactly up to par for 3 people, so I've got to do it a little bit differently. And no headphones, so these take me a little longer to edit when they're 3-person. And I also just didn't hit record at the very beginning when Matt was talking. So the first 55 seconds of this episode are going to sound bad, but I assure you it'll sound decently after that. So just hang in for the first 55, 60 seconds, and then it'll sound totally fine. Also, take care of yourself, my bro. If you're listening to this and you're not drinking water, you're not stretching, or you're not smiling, what's your deal? What's up with that? Take care of yourself. Enjoy this episode. It's crazy fire. It's oh my God. It's hot fire the whole way through. I was editing this back and I'm just kept getting Jesus, I need to type that out. That's a quote. These guys are phenomenal motivators, and I'm just super blessed and grateful to have such minds open up and speak on this platform. So enjoy the episode. Love yourself. All right.
Hey guys, welcome to the Junkyard Love Podcast. We hope you're having a wonderful day. We got Nate Tanzman and Matt Young with us. Matt, I want to start it out with you. Listeners, if you haven't heard of Nate Tanzman, we've got a couple episodes already together. You got to go check those out. I'll make him do a little bit of a bio after Matt here. But Matt, I want to just go right into it and hear about this nonprofit organization, my guy. You work with at-risk youth, Vancouver Elite Outreach. Tell me about this.
Man, so before I even talk about the mission and what we do, I guess I gotta give a drop back, and the drop back before anything is being gifted but fatherless.
Okay.
And so I was a kid that was born in the inner city lifestyle, and with that, I think a lot of people may, it's like a person looking outside in, but they may not understand exactly what goes down in that, I guess that development with the mindset. And so there's a lot of gifted people in there, but they cannot dream outside their block. And I think if you don't have exposure, then you can't change your experience. And as much as it's easier said than done, get out, you have a gift, and make better. I don't think it's that easy because you're dealing with a poverty mindset. And so when you go into these opportunities where your gift makes room for you, eventually you might self-sabotage that opportunity. And so I was an example of that. You know, I guess the organization started through my own story. And, you know, a lot of times people say have a purpose, but what if you don't ever have a purpose, but there's a bunch of problems? So I allowed the problem to be a purpose. And so with that opportunity, man, you know, went through like suicide. Just, it's like you're being like this crazy self-sacrificial person, bro. And so it's like, so relationships, dad issues, trying to make it in basketball, loved by people, not being approved, all this crazy crap that we go through in life, right? And the last time I tried to commit suicide, for me, it was like this awakening, and I believe that was God, I guess, showing his love to me, but didn't really understand that. And it wasn't in a way where it was like, you got to go to a church to feel this presence. I was in a room with my daughter at the time, and, you know, when you go through life, you develop traits. So the habits for me, it was like, you know, at the time when my dad popped in, I knew he was abusive. And I think that stuff jumps, you know, and what you're exposed to. And so that's kind of like how it was for me. And so this presence, when I was in the room, you know, my daughter at the time just, you know, was tripping. And I feel like when you're on edge with your emotions, man, anything can set you off. So instead of me tripping about that, it was like I had this cry. And this cry was like this freedom cry. And all I can remember is me laughing. Like, it sounds crazy, like, you know, I'm supposed to be throwing stuff, who probably spanked her, but no, I laughed. And the next day, it was like this feeling I had, like just everything's going to be okay. And then the next day, I got kicked out of this place that I was going house to house in. And my buddy at the time, you know, I always say he's my angel. He like came out of nowhere, no phone calls, no nothing. And he was like, bro, you good? And I was like, yeah, let's just go take my daughter somewhere. And he took me to a church and was bold. But the same feeling that I felt in that room was the same feeling that I felt when I was in that church. And it was like this sense of peace, and all the stuff that we try to carry that is like unseen was just gone. Like, it's like, what's depression? You know, like you can't feel it or whatever, but then you act it. You're acting in a way. Or what's love? You can't see it, but you manifest this thing. It's like a spirit, but it's like oxygen to me. You know, you can't see it, but I guarantee you, if you go to the moon, it's like, if you can't go to the moon without oxygen, you know? You need this thing to live, type thing. And so that was like my interpretation of God, you know?
Okay.
Like, man.
Did you have a relationship to God before this?
No. So I was like I was like an atheist, bro. Didn't even know what atheist is, because when you're in these poverty areas, your vocabulary game ain't really that fire, you know?
Yeah.
And so you just like,
shit,
right, it is what it is. Yeah. And I think that's where the communication gap with everything is off, because when you go in different areas, the vocabulary is amazing, and you can use words and different things that just kind of articulate a story, right?
Yeah.
And so if you don't got a vocabulary game, you just kind of use certain things that you're trying to express or tell somebody in your own
Yeah,
you know,
because
environment.
those words, like with the vocabulary, if it doesn't make any sense to you, it's not going to be as profound as it
No,
was
right,
to other people. It's
right.
like this whole like language is such a hidden tool. It's
Right.
like the more you learn about it, the more you can now understand things.
Right.
differently.
Have you?
So,
Go ahead.
real quick though, I want you to touch on the environment that you grew up in, because you're talking about you know, you can't grow outside the block, right? And you have this poverty mindset, and you know, you grow up in a certain area. So where does that flip and where does that change? Like where's that awakening come from? You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people think that we put caps on ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Like this is what I can amount to, and not even necessarily consciously either. So you might be putting caps on yourself that don't really exist.
Right.
Because they don't at all. And I'm a firm believer in that. I think that there is no cap. But I think that what we do is what I was talking to you about earlier. We kind of attach ourselves to something. So if you attach yourself to the block and you attach yourself to the life that you're previously living, how do you grow past that? You know what I mean? Because then there's the pressure of, well, I got all my brothers and sisters, and I got all my aunts and uncles, and I don't want to make them look bad, and they're talking to me like, oh, you're too good because you know you dress different now, or you talk different now, or you better than us because you go, you know. What I mean? So where does that shift? You know what I mean?
Man, and that's a good question. I felt like where it really shifts for me is really understanding how to love yourself. And I think what we do is everything we do is for love, to love, and to me, God is love, right?
So I can see it because you're talking about how family, you're wanting to love them so much that you don't want to outshine them,
Right.
Or you don't want to make anybody look bad because you're loving somebody else more than yourself,
Right. Or even vice versa. It could be like, I'm not receiving this love, so I'm going to do these certain things to get love. And so for me, it was like, yo, if I could make it in basketball or any type of sport, because it was like, you know, football, track, baseball, basketball. So out of all these different sports I tapped in, basketball was like the one where it was like, you're not going to quit. Every other sport was more like, oh, it's not fulfilling me, quit. And then you get this attention, but you create these bad habits.
So do you think that the sports gave you a sense of trying to like getting that, like, you know, so where does sports tie into outgrowing the mindset? You know what I'm saying? Where does sports tie in with kind of just finding your true potential? You know what I mean? Because I feel like we're all,
Man, so with me, and I'm gonna just be honest with you, everybody don't believe, but I think when you tap into your full potential is when you tap into your spiritual. Like there's something about,
because it's and not necessarily even people that, you know, aren't religious,
right? And it's not even about
exactly. It's the higher self,
right?
It's the
like
well, because spirit is something like I talk about on here, man. Like spirituality and like. I thought it was all like you see the word God, you see the word religion, you see the word spirituality. Like I thought it was all shit that just didn't have anything to do with me. Like it's just over there. Like I'm like I don't believe in that. That's not me. And like I remember like when I was younger, man, I feel like it was just popular in my family to like make fun of that sort of shit. And so I never even thought about it. I never even looked into it. I never even like I would crack a joke if I saw low hanging fruit. But like not like I had similar like, you know, spiritual awakening where I just kind of understood like what it means to me in that like my being is love and like spirit, you know, I think that we throw out the baby with the bathwater a lot when it comes to like God and spirit and those words, just because the annotation that a lot of us have on them are like, there's something powerful about being able to, you know, spread and like dive into your own spirit and figure out what that really means to you. Not this big definition, what it means to everybody. Like you can read that and learn that because it'll spark something in you. But every single time you hear something like this, it's like, oh, here's what it means to me.
No, right.
And so,
but see, and that's that personal part that I think a lot of people run from it. And it's just like, you know, when you do sports or anything, you do it to be approved. Notice me. But when does that like break off where you just are like, forget what being noticed. I'm just doing this because this is what's best for me. And it really took a lot of destruction, bad relationships, not feeling worthy enough. And I remember just when it was like, all right, this was the last relationship, 2 baby moms in, like I'm done, you know, I'm done. But then it was like, okay, I'm gonna self-medicate myself in this spirituality. If Jesus is this thing for me, I'm gonna just go ahead and just medicate myself. And through that medication, it wasn't easy because now you're dealing with temptation. You're dealing with your ugly self, basically.
Yeah, you bad wolf.
Right.
Yeah,
and so
yeah,
it was
yeah.
like, okay, well, what's my ugly self? Females, pornography, what else? Anger, you know, and now it's like I'm fighting everybody else. It's like remembering what's his name? Cassidy, the Hustler, when he had the Hustler versus the Problem. But it was like a battle. It's the same person, but it's two identities.
I
So-
feel like there's this constant tug of war between your whatever is going on with you and then your higher self. And I truly believe like what isn't in your best interest is somehow in somebody else's best interest. Like if you are not on your shit, if you're falling to your vices or your temptations, right? That benefits somebody else.
Right.
That benefits somebody that might be a woman or a man, for instance,
Right.
that might be going after you because you're in a relationship,
Right.
because people do that.
No,
That
right.
benefits them.
No, right.
If you have a problem that you need to be affirmed, guess who benefits off that?
Right.
Louis Vuitton does.
No, come on.
You know what I'm
No,
saying?
come on.
So that's why I feel like if it's something that you do or something that you place not in your best interest is upon somebody else's. Like even if it's the littlest things, like even if you miss workouts, you know, I think that everybody is their own process, but to me it's like I'm not missing workouts because I don't want anybody to ever say that I was off my game, because that's in somebody else's best interest to say, oh, look at Nate's not on his shit. He's not doing what he said he was going to do. He's just a talker. Like I don't care what people think, but it's important to me that I am in myself, that I can say that I'm always doing for what's in my best interest. Nobody can say to me, even if it doesn't affect me, I don't even want it to be a conversation. And I don't want it to fall to, if I'm not doing what's best for me, then I'm out spending vicariously. If I'm not doing what's best for my interests and my family with my girl, I'm sliding DMs. Like, because that's in somebody else's best interest. That's not in mine. So I feel like when you fall temptation or you fall weakness or you have vices, like, that's good for somebody else. You know what I mean? What's not in your best interest is in somebody else's best interest, no matter what decision you make. And I feel like the problem is in these days is that psychological marketing is a very real thing. Like
It's our whole society.
bro,
right now,
we're
It's
talking the
everything.
very most important thing in a business is psychological marketing. I hate to be like that people and businesses and all these things are evil, but they have to sell their products. And how do you sell a product? Yeah, of course the product has to be good, but also that I know you listen to a lot of Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins says that people buy feelings. I'm buying a feeling. Louis, Gucci, I'm buying a status. I'm buying something that makes me feel a certain way. Whether I can afford it or not, this makes me feel some type of way. When I indulge myself in this, when I drink, when I buy something, when I eat bad food, like all these people are profiting off of that. People are lazy, right? So that's why we have fast food. Well, fast food's bad for you. Well, guess what? Nobody wants to cook. Nobody wants to prep their meals. Nobody wants to go to the grocery store because there's 10 things you have to do in order to eat healthy. You know what I mean? But guess what? We have it taken care of for you. Drive through the drive-through. We're going to have it done in less than a minute. Yeah. See how that goes? Yeah. They're fulfilling a need. But that need in their best interest is not in your best interest at all. And so that's why I feel like psychological marketing is a real thing, and I feel like it's going on right now with all the problems that are in the world right now too. The pandemic and all. I've seen so many new products that are keeping people safe that people are just buying up because people are creating fear in them. So people are creating fear in you, and now, you know, I can't wear one of those masks, the blue ones that are 99 cents. I got to get one with the logo on it. So now you got me for $25. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Because I can't wear that. I can't wear that because people are going to judge me. People are going to judge me. I can't wear that. It's just crazy.
It's so false. Yeah, they're telling us like things that we should be fearful of, so we're trying to fight those fears. It sucks, dude. I think so. Like, look at this conversation right now. Like our age dudes, like for younger kids growing up, I just feel scared for them. Like they're not in control of their own minds. They're like people who some 23-year-old like like computer programmer who lives in Silicon Valley is controlling like what the young kids are thinking about, like because he's like I have the marketing skills, I have the degree, and he puts the data out there because it makes the money, you know, like having these conversations, like so it seems like we've all had some form of like spiritual awakening of some form, you know, and we all have, that means something to each of us as individuals, of course, but I think there's a lot of people our age, like millennials or whatever you want to call it, who are like experiencing this, and we're like, wait, hold up, like we don't want to just do the same habits that our parents did. We don't want to just do this shit. And so like but being able to talk about it now is so great. I think that when it comes to like this awakening, it's kind of like, it's hard to not see it as like this like global, like there's a lot of people are going through this sort of thing. And I'm just kind of curious, like, what do you guys think the future for young people is going to be now? So like all the shit that we went through, like we had to learn the hard way. Like now these kids are like, you know, a lot of them are listening to people like us who are like, don't do it the way we did it. We learned so you don't have to, you know, it's almost kind of like there's more like, you know, father, big brother figures popping up, but it's also, we're teaching like, it's not about us. It's not about idolizing us at all. It's about inside you. All the answers are within you.
I have, the problem is that dudes like us don't sell, and that's an issue. So I think that as much as there is, I feel like there's more stuff happening, like what's going on right now, these conversations right now. But I also think that mainstream media and hip hop has way more play and way more money. I mean, that's just what it is. There's no competition between a conversation like this and a Drake song. There's no competition. And bro, Drake's my favorite.
Catchy, I guess.
Drake's my favorite rapper. But listen to what he's saying.
Right.
So you have a 12-year-old listening to that, talking about sex and talking about this and talking about that. I'm not any kind of saint, but I know what's not healthy, and it's everything that's in those damn songs.
Right. But you know what? So that's funny that you say that, because so you know how Tuesday, right? We did that event, and what I realized with that event, it was like, okay, we got to give these kids more than we got to give them more than just a word and then a basketball game. What do they want? What's the need? Kids want clothes. Kids want shoes. What's deeper than the need? Hey, let's find a kid, right, that parents may be struggling with a bill. As us being this business or whatever we want to label ourselves as, how do we fulfill that? But then say right here, we all have $25 to give, right? How do we put that in the pot just to bless? Not touch, but the thing is, it's like when you have a poverty mind, you have hoarder mentality. The hoarder mentality for me that I feel like I'm growing out of is she's asking for $5, and then instead of me giving that $5 because I have the $5 to give, I'm thinking about, but what if I need the $5? So then I don't. Or instead of, you know, being that blessing, I'm judging, and then the judging talks me out of blessing. And so with this opportunity that we have, yeah, Drake and them is hot and they're doing their things, but they're not being tangible. You have to give to get. We're just giving to give, you know?
Yeah, that's how I watched an Eric Thomas speech one time, and he said he was talking about that. He said that there was a rapper in town, and he didn't go to school, but E.T. was there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He gets paid 50 G's to speak, but he's at the school for free.
Right.
The rapper's not there.
Right.
He came and took something from you. He took your money, but he didn't invest nothing back into you.
Right.
And I feel like, obviously, these people are busy. We get it. You know what I mean? And they have what? But hang on. But hang on. But think about how many. That is there. You're at the point where you at that level, you're in a selfish mentality. How many things you have to book? How many things you have to do, bro? If you're gonna spend $2 million on a boat, you aren't gonna want to go on it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying I don't like that. That's not how I get down. But think about all that, right? But I feel like all we can do is chip away. But at this point, there's this conversation and this table is never. We're literally so far underground compared to mainstream music and mainstream marketing. We don't have the money, nor the computer power, nor the knowledge that these people have because of the disgusting amounts of money that they do have that we don't even know about. We can't get there. Like,
well, why not? Why can't we get there?
bro, you're talking about, I mean, it's a possibility, but at this point, bro, everything is controlled by, I'm a conspiracist. I don't think the government controls the government. I think the people with money control the government.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, that's not even a conspiracy.
Yeah,
bro. That's just how it works in America.
Honestly, I just feel like that's what it is. I mean, you see these people that are certain types of beliefs, right? And then you have people that run companies that they put their content out on, and then they get taken down.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's weird.
Because they have a different. It's not weird. People are like, oh, that just somehow got deleted. It's like, no, go on Google. You see this person's a Republican. I do it all the time. When people say, oh, this video got deleted, I go watch the video. I find it somewhere else. I look up their political views. I look up the person that owns that company's political views, and it's always different. See ya. Cancel. Bye. So that's the problem, is that when these people have so much power and so much money, if you say something that they don't like, or you're spitting facts, or you're talking about stuff that might wake people up, that might stop them from spending their money there, see ya. Goodbye. That's what we can't compete with right now. You know what I mean? So we're out here talking about things that people are going to profit off of, self-development, right? Invest in yourself. Don't invest in this. Vaccine, whatever we're talking about that people are going to make money off of, if we're trying to take it away, you've seen it happen. You see all those things on Instagram where people talk about how bad that this is and how bad that is, and they don't know what they're doing with the vaccine, and then it's not tested on anybody. It's not boom, gone. It's gone. It disappears.
Yeah, dude, it's the controlled narrative.
It's the controlled narrative.
Well, so okay, there's something though, like if you really 100% thought that was the only thing, like this is practically, that's not what you're saying, I know, but this is close to pointless because we're fighting like machines basically with data and algorithms and stuff. There's clearly something within all three of us.
That was funny.
Right.
Oh, that's funny.
But we are fighting though. We are.
Low key. I mean.
Yeah. No. I mean, it's true. There's no doubt about it. But there's still something within all three of us at this table that fights the nihilism, right? Because like here we are, still like I've got less than 100 followers on my YouTube, bro, and I'm still doing this every day. Like the podcast's doing good, but like I'm still just like I have this thing within me now that's just like this service where I'm like. I don't know. I can't waste my whole time trying to figure out these algorithms. I can't waste my whole time trying to get the right video in front of the right people. But I know what I could do today is just do the work and record the video and put it out there.
And that's what it is. Because I think when we focus so much on, I guess, making it so pretty, how much time was that? So if I could just pump out and be consistent just with what I'm doing, man, I might spark up somebody that actually knows how to do it in 10 seconds, But your gift will make room for you. And so instead of us just worrying about, this sounds good. No, I'm just going to produce and keep going because it's just like when we watch film, the movies, different artists, they're consistent. They don't even have to be good nowadays. But if you're just consistent and you can do what people can't do, they're going to gravitate. So in this thing that we're doing, especially just with our YouTube channel, Speaking from the Heart, it's an opportunity for us to just speak that real and be true. But then how do you, like you're saying, well, how do we make more? Well, look, they about to shut down. I heard on Monday. That doesn't mean that we stop Tuesday. We just got to continue to go and make, like you said, servitude. That just reminds me of this verse. But he said, Jesus didn't come to be served, but to serve and give his life away as a ransom for many. I'm willing, if this is the end of the world, I'm willing to give my life away as a ransom. Not be in the house cooped up in fear and then die. I'm going to be out there on the forefront and then die in faith.
Yeah, bro. So the Titanic, when it went down, man, the people, the musicians at the end, like that was a real thing, I guess. They literally just said, all right, fuck it. Like we're going down. This ship is sinking right now. Grab your bow. Let's sit down. We're playing. They played music while the Titanic sank, bro. Like that's what it is. And I think that within humans is like really worth shining a light on, because I think that's like there's many of people right now who are trying to find that spark in them, or that spark is coming out in them and they didn't even know. They don't know nothing about it. Like I just posted on Instagram today. It's like, I think because of the pandemic and all just this craziness right now, like tons of people are going through similar awakenings that we went through. Like they're a little bit after us, but like, is there ways that we can guide them? Like there's a lot of,
doing the podcast.
They don't want to
That's
listen,
it.
you know,
Yeah.
like because it hurts, it triggers them. But like in a couple of months, you know, we've been there. Like you got to slowly sneak into what's like, ooh, like that's too painful to deal with right now.
Yeah.
You got to slowly sneak into your shit. You know,
I feel like the pandemic was either, I feel like there was no in between. Like I feel like nobody coasted. People either got miles better or they got miles worse. I mean, think about it. You have all the time in the world to sit with yourself. Like, do you know how hard that can be for some people, bro?
That's scary though.
Because that's what I'm saying.
sit with yourself. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. So because everything, like all these vices and all these things that we're talking about, they are no more. Like the things that you do or the things that are driven by affirmation instead of self-fulfillment, those things were canceled. You can't drive anywhere in your car because you're not supposed to leave your house. All those clothes and all those shoes and all the watches the bars are closed. Like, do you know how hard that is for some people to have? And that's why I personally, what happened to me is that when I had got my accident, everything that I valued was taken from me. So this is how I identify, right? I wasn't like, oh, I'm a good person, you know. I know that when things go wrong, I'll still be here. I'm loyal, but no, I was like, I look good and I have a bike. Gone. Fucking gone.
Your identity is like just gone.
It's stripped away.
Now? What do you got?
So that's
Who
why
are
I
you?
tell people, like when I did that, I felt like one of my better speeches was that character speech, right? It was, a man is judged by times when no one is around, when he gets nothing in return.
Right.
Who are you when you don't have anything?
No, right.
Like, that's what I want to know.
Right.
Like, and that's why I think people need to understand. And this
It's
is
like
where
being naked again in the wilderness,
where we need
bro.
to
Like,
where we need
come
to
on.
awaken the youth, and where we need to awaken the youth is we need to ask those questions. Take certain people that you look up to, take their money away. Who are they?
Right.
Who are they?
Right.
Like, bro, what do these people do? They're not doing nothing for you.
Right.
They're not barring out with you.
Right.
They're not sitting down with you and talking to you. Hey, how's things going at home?
Right.
They don't care.
But let me say this though. So to me, you know how like when we had all this stuff going on, you got the pandemic, you got race wars, right? A lot of people are talking about systematic racism. I was talking to the buddy and I said, people got to understand that systematic slavery is alive. And a lot of us don't understand that.
We're free
But
slaves.
Come on.
We're free
But
slaves.
it's kind of like, I let you go so far, but once you go in this invisible fence and you go past, I got to go back. But what is that? It could be shoes. It could be,
Yeah, it's
you know,
it's your vices,
right.
your vices and your insecurities are what makes us free slaves. People wake up every day not because they want to, not because they want to do something, because they have to, because they're in a hole.
Right.
I have this car, I have this, I have that. I have to make a certain amount of money to maintain my lifestyle that is all based upon impressing people that you don't fucking know or like. You're a slave.
We're trapped in a life they sold to us.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's that psychological
stole from us.
marketing.
You feel
All
me?
right. So
And
let's
I
switch. Let's switch. So like right now, so this is shit that everybody knows, right? Like everybody's like, well, maybe not everybody, maybe they don't want to admit where we're at as individuals, but everybody kind of knows, like, yeah, I know we're kind of like suckers to the system. Like we're in it. Like, what can we do? So what can we do? Like what do young kids right now who just graduated and they didn't get to go to the graduation 2020? Like what can we tell them? Like what are the things? Because like we're not going to have magical answers, the three of us, that's for sure. But we can focus on the things that we have focused on. So like, what's your story? How do you change your story? Matt, I feel like you've got good perspective on this. You want to talk about changing your story? I mean, so like Tony Robbins is a good one that I think of. He has this story where he was younger and essentially like someone knocked on the door. They were low income. They didn't have much money. They didn't have a Thanksgiving dinner, and someone knocked on their door. Through people, someone had heard they didn't have enough money for a Thanksgiving dinner, and someone came and said, someone cares about you. We know that you guys are struggling or whatever it was. We want to give you this dinner. And Tony Robbins' dad said, we don't take charity, get out of here, slam the door in his face, those sort of things. Right. And so he takes that, instead of like keeping that his story for the rest of his life is like, we're just poor people and we don't take charity. Right. He says he saw it, as a different way of like, he wants to make sure nobody else feels that way. He wants to serve. He wants to be the person on the outside of that door. He shifted his story. Have you heard that?
No, I haven't heard that story, because I like, so with me, when I first got into like stuff, I guess I was like oblivious to who was already doing things. And so all these big namers like, Inky Johnson, Tony Robbins, Eric Thomas, Les Brown, all these things. So I wasn't really into that, but it was kind of like I was on my own journey. And I guess just like when I did ball, I didn't like idolize these people because all that time that I could be watching them, what am I doing with me? And so I guess where I'm at, where we're talking about making that difference and making that change is kind of like once you know who you are and you love who you are now, and you know how I said, your problem becomes your purpose. Now you start looking at, well, what is the need? And through that need, for instance, we were saying like, I wanted to be what I needed when I was younger. So I needed mentorship. I needed resources, I needed, opportunity, right? Exposure. So now through this organization, Vancouver Elite Outreach, before we even get into the service that we do, our stuff is different from everybody else, but what makes us different is all about what we believe. So we believe in enhancing the individual to be the best version of themselves. And then we believe in thinking differently, better mind, better lifestyle. And I think when you get to that point where you're crafting that and you go, well, how do you continue to go? We do a piece called Open Up Your Blind Side. That's our curriculum that we use, but it's an inner work that you're doing. Okay. And then through that inner work that you're doing, if it's testimony, if it's agendas, or you hear something just like this stuff is going to do insight within for us to question or, I never thought about that. But then it's what you do with that. Right. Like at the end of the day, what's his, John C. Maxwell says this thing that I went to one of his things. He said, ACT, apply, change, teach. That spells act. But we have all this time to be acting on things. But again, if you're not applying, you're not changing, and you're not teaching, you're not each one teach one and nothing. It's like free game. Yeah. Like everything that we have is not created for me. It's free.
And that's what I think that there's like this selfishness of,
big time. That's the flesh.
Yeah, yeah. Because people don't want to give the game away.
Right.
But the problem is that you got the game from somebody most likely for free.
Come on.
Like, but when you have this breakthrough or you have an idea or and that's that poverty mindset. No, so the point is that when people figure out something, that's how they generally make money.
Right.
Think about it.
Right.
Like, think about E.T. Like, what if he woke up and that's just my guy, but what if he woke up and was like, oh, I don't want to tell people about how I broke through.
Right.
His breakthrough became his income.
Right.
Like, but nobody does that. So, and that's why I like what I think is so different about Vancouver Elite. I've always told you that. I always think that you're different. I always think that your time's coming. I always. Right. But I think that it's your mission is not to build a business, is to build the individual,
right.
And then the individuals build the business.
No, come on.
And that's what people don't get.
Right.
Is people have such a large focus on how do I scale? How do I get bigger? Right. How do I reach more people? Right. You reach more people by reaching the people that are right in front of you.
Right.
Because that's what it is. Because there was 40 kids at that thing the other day.
Right.
All word of mouth. All because somebody said that, and that's what I think is so powerful about Matt is that you have guys like him that these kids are going through the same thing that he went through. They automatically trust him, like they don't. And he works with kids with the inner city, like these kids that they don't want to go to school because they don't respect their teachers because they don't know their teachers because their teachers don't talk like that. Yeah. When you have a guy that's talking like, yo, I have that, Yeah. I was this old with a child. I was, a victim of this, victim of that, abuse, all this, like parents, like they trust
that vulnerability.
They trust you.
Doors you can't.
Exactly. And they wouldn't come if they didn't trust you. They wouldn't come.
Right. But and the thing is, because some people say like, but what if I don't have that lifestyle? If I don't have that lifestyle, can I not tap in? And I believe that you don't have to basically go through suffering to tap in. You just got to be real. Yeah, right. And being
but everybody has problems.
True.
Yeah.
But so like for instance, I work on the east side, right? And I'm working with kids that financially are good. They're not going to get evicted, 40 acres, basketball hoop, golf carts, just the life, right? And when I'm out there, I don't have to say, hey, you need to make more. Dad is, I don't even tell him I'm making money. I need to get like under him. And how do what's the secret?
Because those kids have their own problems, right?
True.
So those kids have those problems is, I feel like I grew up that in a similar way. My parents didn't have money, but I never earned anything. And that created a false sense of reality for me,
Right.
because nothing is fucking given to you. Nothing. You earn fucking everything. Your self-development, your confidence, everything, even not even in the external, but the internal. All this self-development shit is fucking earned every day. Your positive attitude is earned every day when you battle your negativity. Exactly. Your mental health, your physical health, everything is fucking earned. But when you grow up and you have everything handed to you, I feel like you're at a disadvantage. You really are. And so, everybody wants to talk about people, that grew up and they were privileged and blah, 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 blah. Like we were talking about earlier, I personally think that everything has as much positive as it does negative. So you got a kid, yeah, he didn't struggle when he was younger. He didn't have to eat. But he had everything he fucking wanted. So then when he gets kicked out in the world, he's confused why it's just not coming to him. Mm-hmm. So you have kids like that you can be like, instead of you talk them into their positivity, right. Like, hey bro, like you got it real good, right. Like you don't have to work maybe during high school like some of these other kids do. You can be in the gym that much longer, right? You know what I'm saying? Right. You use that to your advantage, right. You know what I mean? So you can still coach those kids, right. And still mentor those kids in a mental state, because life is, to me, is 99% mental and 1% physical. Right. Literally, and that goes along with everything.
And my thing is, because that event was so amazing, but I don't just credit me. Like, the opportunity was for everybody, and then whoever came got empowered that wanted to be. And I think the thing that keeps me grounded a lot is, bro, I'm just a baker that found bread. And that keeps me where it's like, I'm chilling, bro. Like, and that mentality, people are like, but you're putting yourself down. No, I'm not, because I'm still seeing what's going on in my life that is changing. But who am I to be like, because I feel like once you feed the ego, then that's when I feel like you're just going to crash and burn your own stuff. And I think a lot of times it's kind of like we look for that. And then what happens if we don't get that affirmation? Then the world is over. And so it's just like, bro, I'm just like I said, I'm a beggar, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
and you know what's crazy to me is that I feel like a lot of things are driven in this psychological marketing world about the ego. So, and that's why I posted something on Instagram, because it was like a really interesting thought to me, was everything that you do, your whole entire life, the way that your thoughts, your habits, everything, right? Is that based upon affirmation, or is it based upon fulfillment? And the ego is about affirmation. There's no affirmation there's no ego and self-fulfillment they don't align. Like they're not in the same conversation. You can have one or the other. Like, and that's what I feel like. And greatness requires, to me, self-fulfillment, not affirmation, not all this, like, chasing something that never will be. And because I mean, man, it's been hard for me, man. I've had to check my ego. And I feel like I'm at the point where sometimes it still gets in the way because it's a habit, but greatness requires it. Greatness requires checking your ego. Like, you know how many people I've had to ask for help that I don't want to ask for help from? Right. Then I have to look at somebody that might be younger than me and ask them how they make their money. Like, how did you get here? How'd you get there? Like, I ask people about their journey, about their processes. Like, somebody could look at me and it's like, you don't have it together? Like, you older than me?
But I'd be like, scratch all that. Because it's even just like the other day, right? There's this young 18-year-old filmer. He was on the news, right? And I'll be dumb in a direction that I'm trying to go, but have no information. So then I'll be foolish, basically not asking for guidance. But then when we do that, it's kind of like, no, I'm not going to ask because I don't want to seem like because I'm this age. Age ain't got no number, bro. Like,
so to battle those, so that's where I feel like you have to check the ego. You have to deal with those insecurities. You have to deal with like, how's this gonna make me look? And that's what I mean by saying that's not how you look to somebody else is not about self-fulfillment. Those are not in the same conversation.
Right.
Yeah, bro. All right. So let's see. I was like trying to define ego in the moment. I heard this thing that helped start out because like I feel like when I was young, I didn't understand the word ego. I thought I did. I thought it just meant you're cocky as hell. That's what I thought. But like the more you learn about it and you like learn about like what like Eastern philosophy has to say about it and like how it's just changed. Like essentially, I like to think of it for any listeners who like don't know what the fuck the ego is just think the beginning. You got just a bunch of like right before we became humans, we were in evolution. We were just monkeys, right? So we're all in a circle and we're talking. And then eventually we're like, we got to start naming some shit, right? We got to be able to have conversation. We got to form a union somehow. So instead of just like pointing at things like, is that good to eat? Is that no?
Signing.
You're like water bottle, or you're like, you hold up a banana and you're like banana. And these are words. This is how we created language, right? I mean, of course I wasn't there. I don't fucking know. But like we're naming things. And eventually we had to point at each other and say, Nate. We had to say Matt. And that's the start of like our societal identification. So if you try to remember that when you're being pointed at, like your ego is kind of your societal identifier in your group. So it's kind of hard because it starts to go to this like it doesn't really exist sort of world, but it's essentially like
because I don't think it does.
We think that it does. We operate as if it does because that's just how life has like worked out. But when you could realize when you're doing something like, oh, is this just something that I'm doing for the namesake, wanting to fit in, like my name, my ego wanting to fit in with its environment, with its group. When it comes to ego, it all gets super confusing. But I will say that anybody who does any sort of like Googling on the word ego, just look up YouTube video. Doesn't matter who it is. Learn about it, man. And there'll be things within each of us that'll spark, and we'll be like, oh, okay. And it's almost kind of like, where can I call myself out at? Do
you feel like the ego is like the ego is of the present self's battle with the higher self? Is that the ego? Is that what stands in between?
I mean, kind of. I mean, when you talk like your bad wolf, your good wolf, when you talk like spirit consciousness, it kind of seems like your ego is kind of your lower conscious stuff, and your higher self is spirit,
right? So, don't you think? I mean, wouldn't you think that the ego would be right in between, right?
I mean, it's got to exist.
No, it has to, but it's just like saying like flesh and spirit, you know?
Yeah, because I feel like that's the ego is what causes reaction, right? So say you, with all the bullshit going on, right? You have like a chance to argue with somebody. You have a chance to be physical, right? So if someone's talking shit, the ego is, I'm going to make this irrational decision, right? And then the higher self is like, I'm going to walk away.
That little voice.
Yeah, right? I think that, I think that's what stands in between the two, honestly, is the ego.
Yeah, but what's crazy too, so I was at this counseling thing with my daughter, right? And it's child play. During child play, everything stems off of feelings, right? And then in feelings, depending on whatever the circumstance is, like maybe you fail. Now you had learned that in your mind, when you fall, daddy reacts this way. If you fall, mommy reacts this way. So it's kind of like the movie Inside Out. You got all this in your head that are, you know, basically making moments off your feelings. Who's to say if it's right or not? But because it's in our head, now it's right. But then when you get awoke, you're going to be like, whoa, no. Like, it's just like now that we're in a society where if you whoop your kids, you're going to just basically, they can call the cops and say, I got abused.
Pick them up.
No, right. No, for real. The kids are like, hey, I got abused by my mom, right? Yeah. But in that old way of learning that way, and it's not, it was just for that time, right? Because everything evolves. Now in this time, I feel like we're coming back where you can express yourself. Everybody said, but you're soft when you do that. No, I think expressing your feelings is a healthy way. But then how do you channel whatever it is that you're trying to channel? Hey, I made me feel this way. That doesn't mean I'm soft. You're setting boundaries. And so I feel like, how do we just like where we're at with self, how do we be the best of ourselves? Because I can't, at the end of the day, and just like this, like if I'm like, Nate, you need to get better. You need to do this. you might let that slide a couple times. But if I go a lifetime and like a job wise and telling you, you need to get better, and you hear that all the time, she said through child play, your first emotion is anger. You're gonna be like, Matt, bro, like I heard you like the something time. Shut up, bro. Now, boom, and they're just building blocks. And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like because everything's so jacked up, it's kind of like all you really can do is save yourself, but influence everybody else. But how do you influence not this, but with this?
I think everything has a line and everything has a perspective. I personally think that I've taken time to reflect, and I do think that certain types of, I think expression is very important, but I think the action behind expression is equally as important. I personally do think that our society is soft. I really do.
Why?
Because you can't say something without offending somebody. And if you offend somebody, somebody can pull the plug on you. Somebody can call the cops on you. Somebody can blast you on Facebook. Somebody like those. I think expression is very important. I do. I express myself a lot. That's why we're all sitting here, is because we're expressing ourselves. We're expressing our feelings. We're expressing our emotions. We're talking about, all three of us have talked about committing suicide. That's expression. But the line to me is where you become a victim. So I think all three of us are obviously sitting here and sharing this in confidence, right? But if you are I've thought about killing myself, I have all these disadvantages because people don't know what I've been through because I thought about killing myself. You're a victim at that point. I think that victim is what makes us soft. Like, if someone does something to you, that's a reflection of them, and that's what people don't get. Like people talk about when I was bartending and I'd have people come in and talk about their relationships, right? People always have this like thing where they have this huge hit to their ego because they got punked or they got played. Like, where was this ever a thing that you took it offensively, that someone knew some very personal information about you and got you in a vulnerable state and they did something fucked up and you took that upon yourself? That's not on you. And that's what's going on, is that people are taking everybody else's opinion and holding it so high that's what creates that victim mentality. Is like, so-and-so said this, so-and-so said that, they're doing this, they're doing that, they're telling me this, they're telling me I can't amount to this, they're telling me I can't amount to that. Taking that opinion personally and letting it affect you, that is a part of being, to me, is mentally soft. There's some sort of, I feel like last time we podcasted, I had a different outlook, but I feel like now with the quarantine and stuff, I really do feel like there's some sort of grid that has to be applied to your mind. Like, there has to be some sort of guard that you place up, and some sort of like, I don't know what the word, I guess the word would be grit, but like
Resilience.
Yeah, because bro, I could let that happen all the time. Like, you could let that happen all the time. You could let that happen all the time. Like, how do you feel about growing up in the hood? How do you feel about being black right now? How do you feel about all this? How do you feel? But oh, man, it was really hard for me.
Right.
Like, and I'm not saying this is a racial thing, but what I'm saying is everybody has those things that they can cling on to, right? Mm-hmm. Your father was a drug addict. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about that, Jake? Are you okay? Are you doing all right? Like, are you gonna make it?
They almost make you identify your position.
I'm really glad that you're sitting here in such a positive way, Jake. It's great. It's like, no, fuck that. Like, and I feel like everybody has this narrative that they can cling on to that is either positive or negative. Like we talked about, the good wolf and the bad wolf, the ego and the thing, because this feeds me. Like, whatever, you can get something out of negativity, right? Tony Robbins talks about that. Human needs. When I don't work out, I still get one of my needs met because I'm feeling one of those needs of feeding an insecurity or feeding an addiction to food. Or when I used to, it's crazy enough, is that I had gone through, so here's a victim, and I'll do it with myself, was my stomach issues that we talked about, okay? From 18, and this is just straight up real, and this is like the first time that I've told this publicly, from 18 to 26, bro, I would literally shit my pants all the time. I would shower in the fucking bathroom at LCC. I would throw my underwear away. I have to shower in the bathroom at the gym, clean myself up at the gym, clean myself up at fucking Nike, bro. Like, people don't know that. But I held on to that, and I didn't realize it until my girl brought it up to me. What does that do for you? Do people feel bad for you? Do you get attention from it? And I fucking was. I was telling people that. Oh, you know, I got stomach issues. Like, you know, I don't really like, and it was a fucking excuse. It was an excuse for me. I held on to it. You know, I really can't be as good of an athlete as I wanted to be because I have stomach issues and I can't hold food and I can't keep weight on.
So why did you feel the need to keep that as part of your story?
It was a subconscious. It wasn't a conscious thing. I really thought that there was something wrong with my fucking stomach, but there wasn't. Like, I had all these emotional issues and I knew about it. I was like, hey, every time something bad happens to me, whatever's in me is clearing out right away. Like, bro, I'm talking, I've had times within seconds. Like, when my first girlfriend was like, hey, I don't love you anymore. Within seconds, I had to go to the bathroom. So I know subconsciously that is an emotional thing. Because that's not biological. Or what's the word for body? Biological, right? Biological. Okay. That's not a biological thing. Okay. You can't just hear someone say, hey, I don't love you anymore, and you have to take a shit. It doesn't work like that. Right. That's emotional. And I was like, oh, okay, so I can tell somebody this. And the reason that I don't want anybody to think that I'm going after people or coming at people's throats, so that's why I'll talk about myself. Mm-hmm. Like, because everybody has some sort of way that they've done this. Right. I was like, oh, I could tell people that. Like, well, shit, Nate, you work out every single day. Like, you're not that big. Well, I have stomach issues. Mm-hmm. Like, I can't keep weighting, bro. Like, oh, yeah, you've been hitting the gym, but like, man, it looks like you're... Oh, yeah, well, you know, I've lost 10 pounds this week because I take a shit every 5 minutes. Like, I held on to it. I use it as a fucking excuse. And it wasn't until I got to the point where I started controlling my stomach and my mind and all this other shit until I was like, fuck that. I can do whatever I want. I'm not a fucking victim. This is not going to control me. And I feel like people let their narrative control them. And that's why I say that society is soft. Because you can attach yourself to something now, and because we live in such a social media era, I can post something, I can contact somebody that's feeling that same thing, and we can be fucking sorry together.
Yeah, you got a community for it, bro. I follow a ton of stuff on Reddit about that same thing, like the depression subreddit, the anxiety subreddit, like all these different subreddits I would follow, because there was part of me that like experienced it as just someone, like I wanted someone to listen to me. Like, well, I didn't post, but I wanted someone to relate to, rather. Exactly. So I'd have that, but a lot of times, like as I would kind of like start to look at my own issues and, you know, heal from them and start to understand them more, you know, a couple of years, I was like, you know, I don't really need to follow these subreddits anymore.
Exactly.
And I started looking in like the amount of people that, you know, as humans, we need somebody, you know, and sometimes that's a lot of that first step. I was like, let's just get us listened to. But a lot of times the subreddits, the communities would just be like reaffirming our stories that are hurting us, you know? And there's this balance though. So like the way we identify ourselves, like I was watching one of your videos, you're talking about dyslexia. And like a lot of times it's like we're waiting for, you know, companies or like, oh, you got ADHD, you got ADD, you got depression, you got anxiety, you got all these things are like, you don't have to identify with them, man. Like, yeah, they're trying to tell you what you have so they can sell you a drug. And a lot of this stuff is just like, you figure out the way you are, accept it, and then work on it, bro.
Right. And I like that you say that, because I think the reason why people fall into the victim mentality, because nobody's saying that there's a different way out. So when you see people, or maybe
and because it's easy,
but they're unaware of where it's easy.
Right. So just like with me, when I was dealing with dyslexia, I never heard somebody say you could be better. So in my little bubble or whatever, it was like, oh, your son's mentally retarded. Oh, this is what IEP. So it wasn't like somebody saying, yeah.
So I think that's where the system starts getting us, is right there, right where you're at. They're ready to sell you a drug, right? Now they're ready to put you in a different classroom. Right. Now they're ready to take more money from your parents, right? That's where the system gets us. Right. We're susceptible. We're susceptible to what's wrong with us, not what's right with us. Because when something is right with us, they can't fucking sell us anything. Right. So I was talking about your friend, the girl, Jordanelle, right? She can't be fucking sold anything. because she doesn't need anything. I was listening to a podcast, bro. This chick lives in a house with no running water and no electricity. Right. She's so mentally grounded. They can't fucking sell her shit. Right. She's not buying anything. Right. She's not being told where she's wrong and what's wrong with her. And obviously, everybody there's no end of the battle, obviously, but she's very far ahead. Right. Like after I listened to that episode, I almost questioned myself. I was like, bro, could you do that? Could you give up everything? Are you able to get off your fucking phone? Let's be honest. Right. Are you able to get off your phone? Right. Are you able to not have electricity? Right. Are you able to go out and pump the thing so you can drink water?
And who are you after all that?
And who are you after that?
Right. Well, it's funny is so before I moved with Rachel, my roommate, you know, at the time when I was going through all my craziness, it was like I was getting basically free from all this like slavery. So when I moved into his house, he didn't have TVs, and so it made you be in a position where, you know, normally it's like you interact this way, right? Mm-hmm. No, you got board games, you're reading. It's more intimate. Mm-hmm. And we did that for 2 years. And it was so amazing because everything we did was intimate. And a lot of times where, you know, we're talking about, you know, this stuff or what's going on is this is feeding us something that may be killing us, you know?
It is feeding something that's killing us because, you know, that's where, bro, the almighty dollar rules the world.
You know, but we're in a way where it's like it's entertaining. We justify it. It's just a show.
Yeah.
I just need a couple laughs, man. I worked all day. I need to get some laughs.
So the justification comes from the identity, what you were talking about earlier. So you're talking about identifying something. That's where the justification comes from, and that's why you have to be careful what you identify with. And the only reason that I started to get healthy was because my girl was telling me all that. So when you identify with something, everything that belongs in that lifestyle goes along with it, right? Depression, all this other stuff, like all those lifestyle things go along with that. And then your whole life changes in a different direction. It's all perspective. I'm feeling sad today is not, I'm suffer from depression. You know what I mean?
Right.
My heart's beating fast. I feel like I'm short of breath right now. Is not. I have massive major anxiety attacks. Right. Like
it's like
you know what I'm saying?
We're always trying to like stop time right now and score ourselves and define ourselves by that. We're always trying to define ourselves right fucking now, but life, this whole thing is just constantly moving. Like it's not really how it works. Like who you say you are today, like what does that have to do with who you're gonna say you are when you're 60 years old? Like it's always moving.
Yeah, and that's why I feel like. I think one of Tony Robbins' human needs is something along those lines of identifying with something or being a part of something, contribution, or what is that? It's something that attaches you to something. It's something that's programmed in you that's never gonna stop happening. So you better fucking figure out something that makes it so you're positive, or makes it so you can do what you want to do and you can be happy and you can be fulfilled. Because if you're not attaching yourself to that, you're gonna attach yourself to something else. I don't think that there's any gray area. Like I think that if you're not growing, then you're dying. I mean, there's figuring it out is in a positive direction. And that's what people don't understand. I feel like people do this negative self-talk when they're in process and they don't know who they are and what they want to do because I'm not there yet, but not knowing that figuring it out is a fucking step in the positive direction, not in the negative direction.
Right. Yeah, making that commitment. So, okay. You think you gotta like start with your why then? Like you gotta just shift what your why is, who you are. You gotta, I know you have a thing about starting with why or about your why. I mean, I think a lot of us never even ask what our why is. We never ask ourselves, what's our vision? Like, what do I want to do in life? You know, I think even that could spark that little voice, that spiritual voice within each of us, you know?
Right. No, and that's crazy that you say that. As you guys were just, you know, we can go ahead and go. No, but as we are going through the stuff that we're doing, man, I was just thinking about who am I? You know, who am I with all these titles, right? I put title, I put Matthew, and then you got dad, you got coach, you got husband, you got father. You know, you have business owner, friend, cousin. You know, we have all these titles, but what if these titles were gone, right? What if we didn't get called cousin? What if we didn't get called husband or whatever? And then you got the hobbies. basketball, camera, all this different stuff. What if all that stuff was stripped, just like what this pandemic put us in? What are we? What are we if we can't go back and do the things that we normally do? And I feel like we have to go back to what that is. And from what that is, then that's where we reframe. But if we're in fear, like we're talking about fear, the world is making me do this, or I'm a victim of this, then you're never going to get to self. Because now you have, and what if it's just like right here, you right? But in your mind, because the mind is dangerous. It could be good or it could be dangerous. In your mind, you're just this world is just crazy. You're not, it's so far away. Like, I'm never going to get there. So then it's like, well, I'll just continue to keep doing what I'm doing. But what if it's just like saying no? Like, it's like a fast. Let me like say today, like, I'm going to fast from my phone today. Whatever these distractions are, I'm going to fast from my phone today. I'm not going to touch my camera. I'm just going to just do nothing, basically.
I feel like you get tested by things that you have a pull to.
Right.
So if something's pulling you, even if you feel like it's positive, like, you might want to find out what that pull is. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've noticed lately for some reason that I have this pull to food. Like, I'm like, why is that happening? Like, I think, and what it is because I know that I've already dealt with other vices, so I don't want to go back to those. So when I get to a point where I'm starting to feel anxious, I'm like, oh, I'll eat. But I know that I'm eating healthy food, so I justify it. You know what I mean?
Or what if it makes you feel good?
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, and it's crazy to think that something, and that's why I think what's different about me is I will question everything. Right. And I think a lot of people don't question shit. Like, who's gonna question a fucking habit of eating broccoli and chicken? You know what I mean? But why is it that when I feel anxious, I'm like, I'll eat? Like, because it's a fucking distraction. Because the distraction is knowing that this broccoli and chicken is good for me. So I'm distracted by a good feeling when I was feeling an anxious feeling. And I'm like, you know what I mean? And that's what I said. I feel like that's what makes me different and makes me able to have conversations like this, is because I'm fucking honest with myself. Who's going to say that? Like, no one's going to come out and say, oh yeah, I have an addiction to eating chicken and broccoli, or I have a pull to eating. It's like, no, because that's healthy. At least it's better than McDonald's. At least it's better than fucking whatever everybody else is eating.
It's like, what's the idol? Yeah. And once you get rid of the idol, you show yourself, right? Mm-hmm. But I really believe that it's the idol, bro. Because same thing with basketball. Basketball wasn't just having fun. That was daddy. That was whatever my mind wanted it to be. Yeah, that was my counselor. Escape, yeah. Right. It's like video games. Mm-hmm. They be in a whole nother world when they do what they do. Yeah. And then when you try to say, hey, Johnny, get up. Yeah. They're like, wow. But they, it's like a drug. Yeah. They react a certain way. Yeah. But emotions are crazy, bro.
Yeah, and that's what was, I had like I think, I don't know if we talked about it last time, but I think we did. I had like a moment where I was like, man, is that what he was talking about? Is that the bike for me? And that's what was scary, is because I'm like, I'm like in my head, I'm battling, because I'm like, don't think that. Like, this bike is your life. You know what I mean? Right. But I really think that, I did some deep digging. I talked to a counselor, and I was like, hey, I know what she wanted to know what I do, what my hobbies are, and all those kind of things. And she's like, well, you've been riding this bike for, however long. You're talking about thoughts of suicide. Do you possibly think that your outer actions are matching? You found something, and the reason that it feels so good is because you're matching inner feelings with outer action. Because there's a possibility that I could die on this thing.
Yeah, damn, that's deep. That's,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I actually was like, I asked her that. So she was just like, we were just diving into things, and I like had that thought, and she was like,
but who is it too, though? And that's the thing. Whoever that is, and this is where I'm at with the spiritual part, is we can't say, like, it's just this one religion. We're not in control of that, bro. Like the more and more I'm reading and stuff, the more and more I'm not even in control of myself. Yeah. Even when I feel like I am, I'm not. Like, And I feel like that's what messes us up, because we do feel like we have control over our lives. but it's so deep, bro. Like basketball was my God. Shoes was my God because it did something to me in my emotions. But just because it made me feel good doesn't mean it is good. It's just like that. Everything that's glitter ain't gold. But
But now what's the difference? Like now when you're around basketball, when you're around shoes, how is it different now than it was? What's the feeling inside that gives you?
So for instance, because the fight for me was like on Tuesday, the temptation is, Matt, play. Come on, man, we need you to play. No, Matthew's a mentor. And then Matthew wants to be in your ear, and Matthew wants to pray for you because nobody's going to do it. So in this atmosphere that we're trying to change, Matthew has to understand that the best power is having self-control. And so
I feel like that's where when you do find what you're supposed to be doing, it is in the back of your mind as a responsibility, and it trumps your feelings, right? So it's like now you have this like, it's almost like you don't have the temptation as much because you know that where you're supposed to be spending your time and how you're supposed to be acting, and that in itself gives this responsibility, and it makes the decision easier. Right. You know what I'm saying?
But it's crazy because you say that, right? I feel like the reason why it's so like long is because we're hard-headed. It's just because like for instance, like when I was doing this stuff, like I was losing myself because my mind when I used to play, it was like kill or be killed. And mentorship is out the window. So if you're losing a game or you drop a pass or whatever, I'm on your shit, bro. Bro, it's the end of the world because the why is still attached to that. And the why was, if I grind as hard as I can, win every game, I'm going to make it to the league, and mom's going to get off of domestic violence. She's going to have money, like all this lifestyle that if you make it, it gives you, right? So that was still attached. And then me doing that, a lot of kids didn't know me. But then this is where the humility part comes from, which I feel like we run from, is can you say a sorry when you really did something wrong? And sorry doesn't mean saying, hey, I'm sorry, and then you do something again. No, sorry to me is like you're hitting that reset button, you analyze what you did, you hold yourself accountable, and then you don't do it no more. And if you really care about that thing, you really do it. It's just like with our females. I guarantee you, if we had a little boo-boo, and they felt that boo-boo and they expressed to us in a way that we understand, I guarantee you we will make that fix. Not 10 years later, because they'll be gone. Instant. And I feel love does that. When you love something truly, you wouldn't time, oh man, I bought a meal on her this time. Or
don't count the reps.
Right. And I feel like we do that when we don't really love what we love.
And but also too, I feel like you can love something but be focused more on the result and not the product. You understand what I mean? So like when you're playing basketball, you're only focused on the money. You're only focused on, because of the money is going to solve all these problems. But at the end of the day, you're focused on money and you're not focused on the product. No, the product is that if you were focused on the product, you would know all the things that you were missing. Yeah. You knew that the mind wasn't right, right? You knew that your grades weren't right. You knew that you were going to go as far as you could.
No, for me, so my thing was, because this is how it trips you out. It's like, you could say like with me, it was like, okay, I can't read, but there's a solution to that. Because everything that I didn't do, there was a solution too. So with me, like when I'm having these performances, 30-point games, doing my thing, I'm just now when I watch my highlight tape, like, man, damn, I couldn't at least get like a JC or But when I was doing all the stuff in the process, I couldn't look at the results because the result was, if I'm doing something right, a college would be at my house, and that never happened. So in my mind,
so that's what I'm saying. You were more focused on the end, but the product itself wasn't at the forefront, because then if you
I was up there,
but if you would have fully defined the product, right, with the mental game to go along with that, that's where I feel like it would have changed for you. Am I
True,
right?
And that's right. But this is where I feel like people get cheated on. Is you can't expect somebody, if we're created, you got your mom and dad, and then they create you, right? Your teaching moments start at home. People try to make people hold themselves accountable when their shit is fucked up here. Yeah. Like other people already got a head start. Yeah. But this, This makes you, basically. If it's right or wrong, it's going to give you your teaching of what society is, how it's supposed to work, right? So, like with me, I was feeling like a crackhead for a mentor. And that's what I felt like I needed. And I never got that. And then when I had it, I tried to cling on it like, this is my dad. And then I'll get shown, no, he's not. And this is how he's not your dad. You're scoring all these touchdowns. He hugs you and makes you feel good. But when you're at the Nike employee store and all you all you need is one pair of shoes, and you're just pushing the cart watching the sun get loaded up, that was a moment for me to say, that's not my dad. Where is my dad? So life speaks, but are we listening? You know, we don't need I think sometimes we try to make it where it's like, please speak to me. Bro, life is always speaking. Homeless people speak to me. Birds speak to me.
It's consciousness.
No, come on.
Consciousness. It's literally just being conscious. And that's where I feel like we're so disconnected because of all the bullshit that we're susceptible to on our phones and media and all this other shit. We're so disconnected from real life.
Yeah,
because
we're
we really
missing all
are.
those opportunities and all those little like hints that the universe, that, you know, whoever out there is like trying to tell you, like when you're on your phone, you walk right past that homeless person who like maybe you needed to have a conversation with that person.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's where I feel like if we're acting in our gift and we're acting in our calling, we're aligned with the shit that we're supposed to see and the stuff we're supposed to hear happens. If you're off fucking around, not being your best self and not acting in your highest potential, you miss those things. When you have your fucking head down looking at your phone, you might be supposed to be meeting somebody that's right next to you, right? When you're like, bro, and that's what's been hard for me is I know everybody has got to be spending way more time on their phone during this pandemic, because I was doing research upon YouTube and all that
you're
kind
a
of stuff.
thug though, and I feel like this is how I know, like, this is what thugs do with certain things, right? If you're a thug, you don't give a crap. You're gonna go to the source, right? I feel like what makes us so creative and what we do now is we're not going against the grain. We're just making venues. We're making functions, right? If we make functions, then you're able to create the masses. But if this is the source, right, of communication, and then I go off and say something, and then it has to do with empowering people, then I cut off because I just gave my whole script. No, let's be subliminal. And when you're subliminal about something, and then you're like, hey, everybody's getting free Jordans. Now you have 20,000 people there. You might give 2 Jordans away, but then you had a message that was like, look how many of you guys were slaves to this. And you came. But when I say, hey, who wants a voucher for gas? It just depends on what it is.
Right, yeah, that's like they're accidentally feeding their ego. It's like they think that what they need is those shoes. Right. You know, it's like somebody sold you those shoes.
And what's crazy, but that's not preached to us. And that's why I feel like conversations like this are so important, because I had this, when you have those breakthroughs and you're like, why the fuck have I not been doing this for so long? Bro, people spend more money on dumb shit than they do on spending on their self-development. Like, I bought a coaching program. I signed up with a personal trainer. Like, to everyone else, that's far-fetched. Like, people spend more money on their fucking car payment than they spend on their self-development. Yeah. And we wonder why we're depressed. We wonder why we're anxious. We wonder why we're not happy. We wonder why we don't have the job or the career that we want. We wonder why we don't have the relationship that we want.
Because we base it off of this. Like, it's like, for instance, it's kind of like a honeymoon stage. You go on the honeymoon stage and you're doing everything in your power to show this person for the first 3 months that you're so loyal. And once they say, I'm here.
There's a problem.
Right?
People attach conditions to whatever they're doing. I'm willing to do it if this, and this line up, but as soon as it gets here, I'm done. Right. And that includes your own self-development, which is where we fall short. I'm willing to be better, right? But if it causes me to not have a Friday night out with the crew and I have to stay in and read a book, then there's a fucking problem. You know what I mean? It's fine, right? But if I don't have money to go out, and because I feel like that's what our age, a lot of people are still drinking and doing all that, that's fine. But I'm not going to I spent $750 for a 3-month like mental coach program. Like, that's $750. You know how many drinks that is? Like, do you know how, like, people are thinking that it's too out the door to buy. And I always do this thing on my Instagram, like I'll make stories and on my TikTok, like, and it's that one E40 song, Everybody's Got Choices, right? So I'll go in the grocery store and I'll put these things, right? I can buy a fucking whole entire bag of broccoli that feeds me for the whole week for $4 and people spend $350 or something on a little packet of Kit Kats. That's crazy. Right. But it's far-fetched to buy the broccoli, right? It's far-fetched to buy the chicken. But it's not unreasonable to go out and spend $100 on a meal. Yeah. It's not unreasonable to go out and tip your and I'm in the industry, but I don't do it anymore. But it's not far-fetched to people in the industry that used to be me to tip 50-60%. It's like we're just throwing our money away. It's crazy. Yeah. But that's not far-fetched. But to spend $750 for 3 months, right? Or to be in shape, be an athlete, performing at a level that I want to perform, it's far-fetched for me to get a personal trainer because I feel like I have more potential.
I think that the reason why personal growth or just having a growth mindset in general is so not a thing that anybody does unless it's part of your personality.
That's what I want to know. Why is it not sexy?
It might even be as simple as like, as soon as you admit that you're doing the personal growth thing, as soon as you admit that you just get a life coach, now you just signaled to everybody in your circle like, I ain't that great. No, that ain't that great. It's a personal thing that we don't want to see. We don't want to see it within ourselves. So like the people who take on personal growth stuff, the people who absorb the Tony Robbins videos and who watch this shit and they try to like make themselves better. That's like, it's from the outside circles of people who don't fuck with that. It's like a personality thing. It's like, oh, that's just kind of what they're into. Like, I'm into my shit. I like to drink and whatever, but like what it really is like this, like every single person, regardless of where you're at, regardless of whatever shit you do, regardless of whatever your hobbies are, you should be into personal growth. Mm-hmm. And I think that our society doesn't now, like it's not cool. It's just this other thing over there that those motherfuckers do. Like, I don't hike every day. And then people like insult themselves or they're like, I don't do that running thing. That ain't me. Like,
I'm fat.
But it's like, no, that's for everybody. Personal growth and like searching for your spirit and your growth is for everybody.
Yes, it's literally a one size fits all.
So how do we, so what happens in society over the next, let's say 5 years? It's the craziest time right now, but like what happens to make us start moving our brains towards this? Like everybody gets personal growth. Like personal growth as an individual is almost a responsibility that everybody should partake in. You know, it's not easy, but
I think what needs to happen is the people that are in front of the lens need to talk about the shit more, because people have unhealthy habits. But everybody that's successful, to me, that is they might have a drinking problem, but they have some sort of principle that has allowed them to get to where they want to be. So those principles need to be shared. Those, like, somebody, I'm not trying to get to the bag, but I'm trying to get to the best version of my brain and the best version of my mind and the best version of positivity. If you can teach me how you got to get to there, you can teach me how to do that too. So that's what I feel like needs to be in front of the lens, is what are these principles that are making people go through the hard times, right? What are these principles that are making people, when doors get slammed, they can walk away and they have resilience and they're like, well, fuck, I mean, that's just, okay, I'll do another one. You know what I mean? I feel like that's what needs to be important. How do you maintain that? How do you maintain persistence? And because that's what personal growth is. It's literally persistence. It's a fight every single day. It's a fight every single day. And I feel like everybody's is going to be different. And for me, it's just, I find that when it works for different people. For instance, in my relationship, okay, my girl is she has less of traits that I would say that I have that are a little bit more negative. I have a very addictive personality. Like if I eat something, I'll eat it for the next year. If I get an energy drink, I'm drinking 6. Like that's just how I am, right? She has this like, oh, I can just have one thing. I'm like, how do you do that? You know,
I can't. Does that shit, dude?
See, I can't do it. I can't have this one thing. So I have this like, for my personal growth and for me and for what works for me is this David Goggins like thing. I gotta do shit that sucks.
But you found that that's what works for you.
And that's what I found that works for me. And I have to get to the point now where now I feel like the cost of entry to your business, the cost of entry to your podcast, the cost of entry to your personal growth is listening to fucking people telling you you're crazy. Like, why do I need to run every day when I'm already in shape? Because it makes me fucking feel good. I know how much I hate running, and when I go out there and say fuck you, I know that that's what I want. I know I want to be a bad motherfucker. I just do. Like, and I think that's what bad motherfuckers do is they do shit that they don't want to do. Like it's not always going to be great, right? To me, it's a metaphor. It's like, I never was a distance runner. I started running long distance. Why? Because I've noticed in my life, I always start out strong and then I fucking fall off. I can run 100 meters, no problem. Right?
And my thing is like, because you know the Blue Angels, right? The Blue Angels are the professional jet flyers that do the tricks, right? And so my lady sent me this video on them, but this guy was saying their turnover rate is not you sign up for a year, you perform for a year. It's every event. So you can have a flight, one event, and then not have a job the next, right? And he was talking about this increase in this performance. And when he was saying this stuff, you're thinking like, yeah, man, he gonna be like, killed or be killed, you know, all this stuff. And he said, our mindsets are, we're glad to be here. And when I heard that, I started going deep on like, damn, it's actually really draining to keep yourself tooting the negativity to keep going. But when you just, I'm glad to be here, it's like a sense of peace. And then you just like, it's like a hippie, bro. Like,
yeah. Gratitude is like a special thing, man.
Gratitude.
Like it's got like got magic powers in some ways, man.
And that's what I feel like too, is I'm like, you know, I've been in places where if I was in those places before, I wouldn't be able to do the things that I want to do now. So that's where my gratitude comes from. But I still have to have that. I don't know what it is. I still have to have, bro, I'll be outside in the morning at like 5 o'clock when I go out and run, yelling at myself, bro, because I feel like who's going to gas you up if you don't gas yourself up? You know what I mean? Like you only get so much support, especially when you're acting in something that people can't see, because we're in a point right now in life where everything's about the flesh. If we can't see it, it doesn't exist. And that's what it is. So if you're trying to do something that people can't see, you're going to get all that. You're not going to get support from, bro, I wish I had the support that I get from my friends. I wish I had that from my family. Like I really do.
but you can fix that. And you want me to tell you how? And this is just real. So my dad passed away July 11th, right? And when he passed away, I'm not going to lie to you. I was dealing with, I can love you. Like, oh, you needed money? Because there's no issue. There's no hurt, right? But with mom, dad, brother, sister, there was some type of form of hurt. And when you're hurt, you kind of like put up your armor, right? Trust, they just break everything, whatever those emotions are. So when I got saved, it wasn't like I just went to church and I got a Bible now and I'm trying to read every verse. And then, no, I got saved and then I got confronted with my issues. And I finally had to deal with my issues. And I didn't understand that first because I didn't have mentorship. I'm in there like, okay, this pastor's going to help me because every sermon he talks about helping. I call, he doesn't answer. So then I'm like, okay, well, what am I supposed to do? I'm back here fornicating with females. The old man still alive, right? So what I realized was, how did I deal with it is I had to figure out where I'm really hurting. And where I was really hurting was when dad was with me, he was abusive. And then mom finally got the courage to leave him. She left him. And then sophomore year, he came. And then I had some money coming in. And then dad took that money, bamboozled me, got trust from my brother, took that money. When I wanted to play basketball, if I had this money, I could get to a camp. And then when I got saved, he comes in. And it was just like, just stop. Whatever you are going to say about what you've done, it's okay. I forgive you. But then in that forgiving, there was still more of the process. The process was, how do you have confession with your truth, with your hurt, with people that hurt you? Sometimes we try to do is like people hurt us and then we just go like this. And then as soon as the relation gets rocky, it comes out. Fuck you. Remember what you did to me? Like we just lose it, right? Out of control. So I had that moment with my dad. But then in that moment with him, he had a moment with understanding like, son, I went through the same thing. So now we're more alike than different.
Which we all are.
No, and we all
so
are.
That's the bullshit that's going on right now. Is that we're all, I was telling him this the other day. Life, right? Father abuse, mother alcoholic, father abuse, right? Certain things that I was missing in my life. All three of us, okay? Asian, black, white, all thought about committing suicide. Life will fuck you up. Life can fuck you, and it just takes it takes nobody, and it will literally beat you to your fucking knees and spare not one single person.
It'll convince you that you deserve it too.
And it'll convince you that you fucking deserve it, okay? But we all want to be divided. We all want to talk shit. We all want to argue. We all want to be separated. If you don't believe this, then fuck you. I heard something the other day, and
because that's what we act.
And I heard something the other day that blew my mind. It said we all should act, and we should all give the grace that we need for ourselves. People are out here talking shit that aren't even happy. People out here talking shit that their family's fucking falling apart. Right. You have other things that you need to be focused. Focus on your fucking self. Right. Don't focus on other people. Don't focus on what people are posting. I thank God that I've gotten control of this, but I have not fucking argued about racism or politics. I've had conversations, but I have not argued with not one person this whole entire time because I fucking won't do it. I'm not going to sit here and argue with you on fucking Facebook and Instagram. I won't. I've had every time someone says something negative to me, I fucking block them. That's it. You don't like what I post? Go fuck yourself. That's it. Because it's people aren't acting in the grace that they need. I need grace because I'm not perfect. But everybody that has judgments that base it and says that you're wrong, you're this, you're racist, you don't care about this. It's like, bro, why does that? I guess the reason that I don't have a super strong opinion about all this is because we're humans. Like whether how you believe how we got here, if you fucking sit back for a second and think about how we got here, how is that not a fucking magical thing? Where the fuck did we come from? Nobody knows. It only is based upon what you believe in something that you can't see. Nobody knows how the fuck we got here, and we're still worried about what fucking color people are. That's so fucking stupid to me and so surface level that we're concerned about fucking somebody's skin color. It blows my fucking mind. It blows my mind.
But just like that, because I felt like through these tragedies that we had, it was an opportunity to like listen, to understand. Mm-hmm. And there was a time where, my sister that I call my sister, she is white, but she's seeing this stuff, and then you ain't posting to this, no, you're considered racist. And she opened up to me and she said, Matt, I don't understand. But what I understand is there is a time in our era where out of fear, people put this, like painted this picture.
Yeah.
And it was
because they're,
fear. Like,
because they're in fear.
And like when we do this stuff, it's just something how we act. But that's why, like with myself, I know like if I'm acting, I guess like with my emotions, when I'm frustrated or angry, I isolate. I isolate because I know what's going to come out. It's not going to be good. So the people around me don't deserve that. But I can't give what I don't have, and I can't expect people to do what I'm not willing to do. So I can't say, give me love, but I don't give you love. And I think that's what our issue is we want people to
do something
give us this thing. Like I'm talking about right now, I'm changing my whole perspective. Like I said before, like my sister, she's going through some things, but I'm judging her by her past. Not because I don't feel her hurt, it's because I'm hurt. So then I don't trust that, because now it's like, well, I want to give her, but I'm going to judge her because she was this prostitute or she had this. But I'm forgetting that, no, before she was a prostitute, actually, she got her innocence taken from her. She was raped. Yeah, right. But what we do is we want to forget that. And then now she is moving in her choice. But the way she's moving in her choice is a way that she was taught when she didn't have a choice.
Yeah. So then the reason that you have that mindset is because you're judging. And that's what's going on. So you judge her for your choices. So people judge other people for their choices and how they respond or how they post or how they react or why they're not protesting. It's like, did we not forget that coronavirus is happening? Like, and people are pissed off that people aren't going downtown. People are upset because people aren't here protesting. It's like, bro, somebody asked me why I wasn't protesting. I said, because I got a fucking baby on the way. I'm not about to catch a charge or catch a fucking bullet. Or catch a fucking something in my head.
I mean, you don't really need to give answers on that shit.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. But that's the whole point. Is like people out here are like, you must be racist because you're not. And that's what is
And then don't that piss you off though? Like when somebody tells you something that you're not, the quickest emotion, right? And that I don't know about you, but my old defending self is I'm knocking heads. Yeah. And then now, because if you knock heads, you get a charge. I'm pissed, but I isolate. But I felt like, well, what's the right solution? The right solution is do what you want. Treat your neighbor how you want to treat yourself. Love your neighbor like how you love yourself, because that's the best way. It's the hardest way. Yeah. It's hard because we have all these judgments.
You got to do what's hard, dude. People have been taking the easy way. It's easy to get mad. It's easy to get pissed off. But like, that's as a society, we all got to stop doing that.
And that kind of matches up with what I was talking about the grit, because it's like you have to do the fucking hard shit. And for some people, most people, honestly, that's that inner battle. I just think that no one talks in a way that I talk. Like, fuck that. I can't think that. Like, there's nothing about taking the hard way out that doesn't require a little grit, that doesn't require a little edge. Right. You know what I'm saying?
True.
Like, no, fuck that.
Right.
Like, no, fuck that. And that's what, when you were talking about how love your neighbor as you love yourself, people don't love themselves. And so that's why it's so easy for people to treat people like shit. And that's what people don't understand, is that you're in your head talking so bad to yourself all day. And this is the most important. Right. Matthew to Matt is the most important. Jake to Jake is the most important. Nate to Nate is the most important. So if I can call myself a piece of shit, why the fuck can I call you a piece of shit? How easy is that? Right. It's so easy. And it doesn't reflect off of me because I'm already feeling that. And so that's why I tell people,
but how do you
don't
change
worry
the
about
game?
what,
How do you change the game?
I personally think is the only reason I have a hard line for myself, because I like to one of my things is for my brand is inspired by action. Okay, so the podcast and the speaking and all that kind of stuff, I do have to talk about it, but I would rather be about it. But I know that if I don't talk about it, I'm doing people around me and people that want to hear me talk and want to hear me speak and want to hear what I have to say an injustice, because I do have a crowd. I do have a voice, right? Everybody does. But I would rather see people do. Like, I had to have this conversation with my girl, like, where do we and that's what I feel like is most important, is that circle. Like, start with your fucking self. But nobody does that, okay? Because it's a distraction. I can get up. As soon as I get up, I'm already pissed off, but guess what? I can go seek that. So then I can tell my partner that John Jacob Jingleheimer Smith pissed me off on Facebook, and that's why I'm mad. Not because I'm unhappy with myself. Disappointment is, what people don't get is that, like you said, life is always talking. We're not listening. Disappointment is your guideline for everything. If you're disappointing yourself, stop making decisions that are disappointing. And then you don't have those feelings, right? So it starts here. Like I said, I was having that conversation with my girl. How do we feel about this? How do we feel about what happened, okay? Because there's no fucking doubt in my mind, and there's no question that what happened was wrong. 100%. He fucking kneeled on that man's neck for 8 minutes. He fucking murdered him. He did not detain him. He fucking murdered him. Was that an act of racial hate crime? I don't know. I'm not an investigator, and that's what I think shitty, is that me saying I don't know, some people will call me racist. But yeah. I'm not there. We don't what's hard for me is that we don't ever get the full story. That's why I don't have a passionate view towards this issue, because the information that everybody's getting, I don't know if it's ever the full story. Right. You never do, dude, and you never will.
That's where this whole thing is just so messy, is we all think we're like, this is exactly what happened.
Exactly.
And none of it. It's all just like a weird.
So all of these cases have things pop up, things hidden. It's about money. Stuff can fucking happen or stuff can disappear if it's paid for. People forget that shit. People forget. We're like, we say that the media, everybody is such a fan of saying that the media skews things, right? The media is your phone. So people think that it's not skewed on Instagram, but they think it's skewed on CNN or Fox or whatever bullshit. I don't watch TV, okay? Why are we so blind to that? whatever is being talked about, your viewpoint, Matt, on today's racism and coronavirus, whatever you actually think and whatever you're spoken is going to pop up on your phone. If you think that this is,
it does.
Exactly what I'm saying. If you think that this is all 100%, that there's systematic racism, that blah 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 blah, those articles pop up on your phone. If this is not my viewpoint, but if I think that all that bullshit doesn't exist and blah 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 blah, my issues and my standpoints pop up on my phone. They get posted. You post yours, and then we fucking argue. It's division, and that's the point. And I keep skipping over what me and my girl, but we had this conversation, right? How do we feel? How do we act? What are we gonna do? My girl was like, I don't really feel comfortable posting things, and I believe every word that comes out of her mouth, that she said that this is what we do. And sometimes I let her lead, because I'm like, okay, what are you comfortable with? What are you okay with? If that situation happens, I sat down with her and I said, what do we do? Because people want to know what we represent. Everybody wants to know, what are you doing in your fucking house? What are you doing over here? You don't let that happen. If you have to give up your own freedom, you do that. You don't let that happen. You don't sit there and fucking record this man killing this guy. You act and you do something about it. So that's our standpoint for anybody that needs to know, and nobody needs to fucking know, because that's where I know. And that's why people sitting back think they're getting fucking support by someone posting something that's not going to do shit. It's literally not going to do shit. It's not.
Bro, I think that all of us don't fully understand what social media is.
No.
Like, bro,
we can't.
It's just something that when we were in high school, like, of course you got it because that's what everybody did. You never questioned, like, wait, I ain't going to get it. Like, it's like if your parents let you have it, quote unquote, when it first came around, then you have it. And like, we didn't realize, I don't think we're realizing how much it affects our psychology as a society. Like our entire planet consciousness is affected hardcore by media and news and all the social media. And it just takes that extra, like having those conversations, like, wait, what's really going on? Like if we were in this situation, what was going on? Like we've got to set down the phones and be like, all right, wait,
and
hold
have
up.
those conversations.
What's going on? Yeah. That's important.
So like him and I have great conversations about this, and sometimes we view things differently and we don't hate each other. He's my best friend. So
the conversation.
Why the fuck? How is it like? Why is that not allowed? Why is it not allowed for people to have different views? Why is it
people get offended? And that's the
That's
thing.
where I say that we're soft. And that's what I'm saying, that we're
but this is where I would disagree is like we say this at our house. Feelings matter, but they're not facts. And so, Jake, who am I to say you feel a certain way strong about something? If I come in and be like, yo, you're a pussy for that, you're gonna be like, I don't even know you. You're gonna get offended. Yeah, you can't help it. And I feel like, and that's just like when like you see people in gangs. I can't go into a gang environment and be like, you don't know that. Why you banging over, a rag that it's dumb, it's ignorant, right? Yeah. If I do that though, even though that might be right, factual, like you don't have no stocks on that concrete. Like I'm going against their belief. And their belief is like, you don't even know what we represent. You ain't never asked. You ain't interviewed. You ain't slept here. You don't know what. For one, gangs structure is a family model. That's their model. Yeah.
They've got more community than a lot of us got.
No, come on. But see, that's our issue is I'm at the point where we have to stop talking and start acting.
That's what that was.
Like we got to fuck the talking now. We've been talking for years, 400 years, 1000, Yeah. Bro, we need to be about action. And then what's so crazy about it is, like, just like with the event we did, 40 kids off of word of mouth. But imagine if we're more consistent. Imagine if we start adding to that. Well, how do you add to that, Matt?
You need a DJ?
We need all that, bro. Yeah. No, for real.
Cool, let's add to it. Yeah.
No, but because now we're slapping tunes. Yeah. Now we're playing music. Now it's a different vibe. Yeah. What I'm going to do, and this is just my devotion, I can't probably get 10 pairs of shoes, but I'm trying to ask people, and then I'm going to get a pair of shoes. So then in that, I'm just blessing, but they're going to be like, why are you blessing? Because God did it for me. I just want to love on people. So then now that's changing the narrative. Because if I'm trying to go against Drake is making them feel a certain way. Yeah. And I just go and say, hey, you're living wrong. Drake is still making them feel a certain way. And I can give you truth and everything, but what are you giving me beyond that? See, the devil will give you a false lie and an item. Why give you a word with nothing and say, figure it out? That's backwards. Yeah. No, I want to give you some truth. And then here's an item, and then here's a process walking with you. Just like when my daughter rode her bike. I didn't say, I'm not a dad that's not a deadbeat dad, so I was there. We had a date to ride that bike. She wanted to ride the bike earlier. She said, I'm ready, Dad, to ride my bike. And then now we started the process of riding that bike. That process took 2 days, but in that process, I had to let go. She had to let go. She asked for help. I asked for help. I had to accept that. She said, Daddy, I got this. And then she fall. I'm a big girl, but I had to do all these things that were so like, it's okay. Oh no, baby, you'll be okay. It's like being crazy if you were.
Yeah, but you're guiding her.
Right. Yeah. And I think when we go through so much things, it's kind of like, here's the seed, but I can't give you else. Here's the seed though, and you figure it out. I don't think that that's the best way. It's like, here's the seed, and I'm going to show you, and then I'm not going to leave you, but I'm allow you to start learning how to do these things with your own self. But then I don't disconnect from you. You're a phone call away. You're, one drive away. And then you did this right, but just remember, like you do with videos with me. You don't cut me off. Does it get frustrating sometimes? My process is like AOL. It's not 5G or whatever this stuff is. But I'm not dumb, but I'm going to get it. But because you don't quit on me, I'm getting a little bit better because of you're still guiding me through this process. Yeah. We like to control the process. Yeah. And if it's not fast like me, then they're not going to figure it out. That's just like getting somebody saved. They're going through an onion, like you're peeling an onion back. Who am I to be like, get it right now? And then cut you. We can't do that. Yes, but this studio was not built overnight. Like,
that's what I feel like. That's what I feel like's happening right now. Is everybody's acting as if I'm gonna send you an article that needs to change your mind, and that's it. That's it right there.
It goes in with it. If you're not this, then you're that. Like, do you like this thing or do you like this thing? It's like, well, I don't really like. Why do I have to choose one of those? It's like a Q test being fucking multiple choice and thinking that it means something.
And that's what I'm. So I had a conversation with somebody that I said, I'm not picking a side. Yeah. You're not going to get me to pick a side of, I either think that there's systematic racism or I think that there's not. I'm going to stand right in the middle, because if I don't stand right in the middle, then I have all this pull from each side. My goal for myself is to bring everybody together through this self-development journey. The self-development journey to me is what brings everybody together, because the reason I feel like we judge people so much is because, and we lack empathy. Empathy is what makes us figure out that we're more alike than we are different. Because if you've been punched in the mouth, if you've been kicked in the nuts by life, okay? If you haven't dealt with that shit and know how fucking hard it is, you will look at your person and somebody next to you and go, I know exactly how I felt when I was battling thoughts of suicide. Jake did the same thing. We've had like maybe 6 deep conversations that we've known each other for 15 years. And I have so much empathy for you and I have so much respect for you because of that. I don't give a fuck what you believe about all this. You're still my homie because of that. But we don't do that, okay? People don't go through those processes of fixing themselves, finding out where they're lacking, finding out, because you can only judge when you think you're perfect. But if you know you're not perfect, you don't judge. That's why I don't judge people for, and honestly, I have that, that go big or go home, do it all or do it or don't do it at all mentality. I respect the people, I really do, that have been down there for the last 4 months. Fuck yes. Do it then. If you're going to fucking do it, then do it. You have my respect. But do I necessarily agree? No. You know what I mean? But we judge because we don't have that peace within ourselves. We are not a judgment free from ourselves. Like, I talk to my girl and sometimes we get in arguments because we don't, we're not, I'm very punctual because that's what works for me, right? If I don't have a schedule, I'm all over the place. I get anxiety. I'll start doing weird shit. I'll start eating. I'll start drinking caffeine. Like that's just how I get down. She can be more free. So when I say we're fucking late, let's go, she says, Nate, don't you think I judge myself enough? And I'm in my head going, I do the same damn thing. I wake up and I'm like, God, I should have got up earlier right away, even at 5 a.m. Like, I'm sure there was somebody else out running right now at 4:30.
I can't function like that. I'm sorry.
I don't know why.
But you find what works for you.
Yeah, but that's not healthy. But what I'm saying is when she said that to me, it woke me up. Because I was like, bro, you do that same damn thing the second you open your eyes. The second you open your eyes, you're judging yourself. And now I'm putting pressure on her because she's not ready. She's fucking pregnant. She's fucking subconsciously growing a fucking human being. And I'm like, we're late. We have to stop and pee again. Like, and I'm like, when you get those awakening moments, it's because you're trying to become at peace with yourself. But when people aren't at peace with themselves, when they're in an offense, instead of, there's no offense, there's no defense when you're right in the middle in consciousness, right? That's when you're open to those things. But if I'm attacking, if I'm in offense on her, I'm like, no, we're fucking late. I don't care what you're saying. And she turns around and says, Nate, don't you think I judge myself enough? Yeah. And I'm like, damn, right? Yeah. But we're not doing that right now, right? We're all, you don't believe this, you don't believe that. Well, no, I posted it. You didn't see, I'm gonna send it to you. I archived it. Like, no, don't judge me. These people that are judging, they're on offense and they're not seeing where they judge themselves, and they're not seeing where they're unhappy with themselves. So that's why it's so easy to place it on somebody else, because your body, your mind is the fucking most important part, and that's the temple. So if you are destroying yourself, what makes it so easy you can't destroy somebody else?
You're going to.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're going to, even if you say you're not.
And that's where I feel like for us, we were bad in relationships, right? We hurt other people because we were out for what was best for us, and we're on offense. I have a need. I have an insecurity. I have a need for, what's another word for need or insecurity? Whatever those negative things are, and I'm on offense. I gotta get that. That's what's on my mind. That's what's on the front of my mind. That's what's in my subconscious. I'm getting it at the cost of anybody. And that's what it is. I have a need to spread my thoughts. I have a need to spread this word that I have, and it's at the cost of fucking anybody. I'll tear you apart. And that's what's going on right now, man. There's no open conversations happen. I've had 2 open conversations. Out of all the conversations I have during all this bullshit, all this coronavirus shit, all this, the protests and all that kind of stuff, I have had 2 open conversations. The rest have been, fuck you. Go fuck yourself.
See, I think right there, that cornerstone right there, that's where like the motherfuckers who are controlling the puppets, the puppeteers, that's where they're winning, is they're taking away our ability to have a conversation about it. We can't control our emotions, and we can't regulate like our we can't realize that we're not our thoughts. We can't sit there and have like these open conversations. And so what happens instead is like we get keyboard warriors, and we get like, oh, I'm going to take 30 minutes to respond to this person, and they're going to know exactly what's up. But it's like, it's not real conversation, bro. You miss out on all this eye contact. You miss out on this authenticity. You miss out on remembering that they're a real human being and they got their shit. Like by someone saying, I got all this, blah, blah, blah. They're not saying also, I think that I'm perfect. Like, but we think that they are saying that, and they think that we're thinking that we're perfect. We're caught up in this shit, and we're not even able to have conversations about it. And that's what it bums me out. It's
it
like,
really does.
Don't you guys see what's happening? They're making us mad, so we can't talk about this shit, bro. Right. Like that sucks.
And then now you got a coronavirus that's telling you wear a mask and be 6 feet or stay at home. So now if you're doing that, that's like, too. Right. And now you're already isolating yourself. And then what are you watching? Television. And then if you're
more money.
And then if you're watching television or frustrated, whatever, man, it's ugly.
And if you're not allowed to go outside, then you get unhealthy.
Right, but then
blood
this is
pressure, medication, all this other shit. I just think
outside, bro. Like I said, it goes through that being radical.
Yeah,
you know.
I just think that there's to be honest, I don't think things happen by accident. Like, so if you start to understand one thing, I feel like you start to understand everything, right? So I started, for instance, for me, you know me with the cameras, right? I started to realize, and with phones, okay? Let's just use phones, for instance, because everybody has an iPhone, okay? The stuff and the features and all the things that are going on with the phone that you have now were purposely left out for the next one, right? Cameras, it's the same thing. The stuff that they didn't put on this camera, they knew, because they're already planning that shit so far out. That's what the fuck is happening right now. That's literally what's happening right now. This shit's all a fucking plan. Like, do we not think it's a coincidence that there's all these conspiracies going on and all these people are getting caught up in like sex trafficking and all this shit? I don't like to talk. I'm a conspiracy. I don't like to talk conspiracy though, because I think it's so, people judge so harsh that it's just like there's no conversations to be had. But I think this shit's all a plan. There's been things where people have slipped up. They have fucking lied. You can't lie and expect your people to trust you. And that's where I drew the line at this whole coronavirus shit, is they went on and said it's not necessary to wear a mask the first couple days, right? And then they went on and said, we lied about that. That's obviously not their words. This Tony Fauci guy, who's supposed to be the scientist behind all this shit, says, we knew that there would be a shortage of masks for hospitals. So that's why we told you, bro, tell the fucking truth. People respect the truth. Now we don't know what to believe. Now that's where I literally, they
fucked it up bad, dude. That situation right there, that was bad.
That's what I'm saying. Now you have lost trust. And now to me, I'm like, oh shit, I'm like, okay, man, this thing's really out here killing people. Then you see that. Now I'm like, I don't believe a fucking word that's coming out of your mouth.
Now let me ask you guys this though, because this is what I was thinking. Out of all this stuff that's going on, my thing that I think about is, are you really ready to die for your cause? That's all I think about.
Exactly.
And then when you're talking about the Titanic thing, if we're gonna die, we're gonna die. You can't, like, I'm not a billionaire to pay and whatever. So we're all on the same playing field.
Yeah.
But are we really at the stage of my life ready to die for the cause?
Mm-hmm. So that's where I feel like that this whole metaphor comes in. If you are sick, you're gonna be around sick people, and I mean that in every sense of the word, right? If you're aligned, if you're going where you're supposed to be going, you're gonna fucking miss coronavirus, bro. It's not, I don't care what anybody thinks. This shit is all pre-planned. And I mean your life. I don't mean all this conspiracy shit. I mean your life. If you're on the path that you're supposed to be taking, if you're acting in your higher self, you miss all that shit. You don't get around it.
Sucked into it, man. You don't.
If I'm not on this spiritual journey, if I'm not on this personal development journey, I don't meet Matt. I don't meet you. I don't meet the people that are influential in my life. I don't see the things that I need to see. I don't listen to the podcast that made me sign up for this dude's personal development thing. I don't see, like, it doesn't happen. So that's what I'm saying is, if you're sick, you're going to be around sick people. And I mean that every possible way.
You could be sick in the mind.
That's what I'm saying. And then you're
physically, mentally, spiritually, financially.
So that's what I'm saying.
Right.
That's what it, to me, that's what I was talking about.
Right.
If you're sick, you're gonna be around sick people. And I mean that in this bullshit right now. And I mean that when this shit's not going on. You're gonna be around toxic people. I've already said, I told my girl, there's a fine print in the mask wearing. If you're hard of hearing or if you're deaf, you don't have to wear one. That means I don't have to wear one, okay? That's what I tell people when I walk in. I already told my girl, listen, this is how I'm gonna go out. That's how I'm gonna go out. That's it. I've already accepted it. I'm not gonna get it. I'm not going to.
Right.
I just don't believe that.
Faith, bro.
But if I do, check this out. If I do fucking get it, I know that I'm healthy enough that I'm not gonna die. So they'll tell us, wear a fucking mask because this is what's going to prevent you. But they don't tell us how to build our immune system.
Yeah.
You know why?
Go work out. Do some breath work.
Go outside.
Millions of things
meditate. Guess what? You know why? Because that takes money away. Right. Healthy people take money away from the fucking elite. That's just what it is.
Well, okay, all right. So let's use this analogy. I feel like we're back on the Titanic, and essentially the intercom kit. We're all just employees. We're there, like we're people on the ship. And then they come on the intercom and we're all good. We're on the Titanic. We're floating along. There's no iceberg. And then they say, hey, the people around you are your fucking enemies. You got to get your gun out and shoot at them. And all of a sudden we're running around shooting our lasers and our guns at each other and we're dodging it, but we're hitting the ship and we're making our own fucking holes. And then none of us have stopped and been like, wait, hold up. Who was the guy on the announcement? Like, wait, what did you actually do that I'm not supposed to like? Like we're destroying our own ship. And I feel like it sucks because so many people kind of come to the conclusion of like, bro, they're lying to us and they're trying to make us mad. And like, so many of us are pretty much at this point where it's like, we see that we're getting kind of brainwashed here, but now what is the thing? Like, now what? Like, what can we do? And I think the biggest answer is literally kind of like this self-development. Like you got to look at yourself, look at yourself. Like Jordan Peterson, for example, like I started stumbling upon his videos and he talks about like, he was kind of like the father I never had on YouTube. I was like, oh man, he's like inspiring me, like work on myself and like look at these things and look at my thoughts and these sort of things. I mean, I think that we get so caught up in these conversations and the place that I find myself with the conversations, it's good to have them, but then at the end it's like, fuck, this sucks, man. Yeah, I guess we just got to wait for what's next. And you sit back in your seat and it's like, and I'm not saying that there is an answer and I'm not saying that I have an answer, but I'm saying like, okay, we are at the edge of this conversation. What could we do? Like, what's a thought experiment we could bring in? Like what? And it just seems like this is like the one answer that I can come across.
So,
like
and that's what what we were talking about in the beginning. I feel like this is how it starts, but I just feel like we don't have the power.
No, but see, that's where the spiritual comes to me.
Yes, I agree.
Get some power though.
Yeah, we do. So we do have power, but I just feel like we're up against something that we don't even fucking know
because
about.
guess what? But there's more consumers. There's more consumers than there are with the people that are running it.
But listen to this. As a human, and you know this 100%, you know that whatever you believe, so I personally will listen to you talk, right? Because I know that we think similar, okay? I know that I will listen to you talk. But if we have a belief that whoever's controlling what's going on in the media, they're tapped in. They're tapped in. So they know what you think, and they're going to feed you that information. So you're not going to listen to me or you or Jake. You're going to listen to them because that's what they think.
But this is the thing, though, and this is what we have to understand is they're not in control of the spiritual. So yeah, they may say something, but spiritual is deeper than. Yeah. It's just deeper. It's so much deeper.
That I do know. But you have people. That's why they call it the 1%.
True, and they're running the shit. But this is the thing.
No, but what I'm saying is there's people even in self-development. So there is more, bro. Let's just say the 95%. There's 5% of people that really want to do this, that really are willing to go deeper, that really are willing to look at themselves and go, where am I not being my best self, bro? But the easiest thing is we're just looking to survive. And survival means that we take whatever will come at us. Right. So if I'm not going to go out and search something, if I have to go out and say, let me find a great fucking podcast or let me turn on Netflix, what am I going to do? Then Netflix takes less time and less effort. Right. If they're going to feed you information, you're going to take it. It's free food, bro. It's free food. Right. It's a free diet. It's appetizing for what you think, and it's appetizing for the brainwash that's already been going on. It feeds it. It feeds it, and it feeds it, and it feeds it. That's something that I just feel like at this point, that I'm not saying I'm gonna stop because I'm not gonna stop, but like you said, we're up against something that we didn't even know about. We don't know about it. We don't know how powerful.
But I think when we get to this like humbling, like it's almost taking the word humble out of our mouth, but it's kind of like this like, all right, fuck, we're pretty defensive. What can we do though? And
we just keep going. Yeah, exactly.
Keep going. So all right, so how do we, anybody listening, how can we, if they've never experienced spirituality or like any sort of like that soul feeling, how do we spark that? And then people who have, how do we give them some advice to like sharpen that shit? Like how do we get people to like, because we can stand all day and say this sucks and we have no fucking control over that thing over there. Eventually you got to like start sitting down and like digging or planting some seeds or something. So what can anybody do to like sharpen their spiritual side like in a time like right now?
Well, I'm just like, even like right now, I believe that right now we're booming these Tuesdays out. And Tuesday we were at New Heights, and basically what we did is I felt led to Lord's Gym is closed, and that's where our functions used to be. It's a church. I'm kind of weirded out by, if we're believing in this higher power, why the hell are we just following these, like, the government like a little sheep, Mm-hmm. And so I felt like God was dealing with me, like, just do it.
I was singing in front of you a little bit.
I was like, he was just like, just do it. And so in doing that, I knew that it wasn't just about me. And doing that, it was like, make the post. But in that post, Pastor Mike's wife made the flyer. And then in another post with that flyer, who are we going to hit up? Who are all the videographers, photographers that we can in Vancouver? Nate on there, whatever. I'm having dudes like, who's going to be there? It's not about who's going to be there. There's an opportunity for you to create, growing your craft. Right. And then I feel like this is what happens with certain people. People are still chasing money and not love. Fuck the money, because it's going to be God or money at the end of the day. Forget all that. God is love, so why don't we just chase love, and in love, the bag follows. But what we have to understand in that is Nate showed up. Nate didn't ask for a penny. Nate ain't never asked for a penny from me. You know what our thing is? If I'm going somewhere, you're coming with me. And then now that I'm making a little bit money, Nate, how much do I charge to do this? I'll pay you. Not because he needs the money. It's because I want to bless him for his creativity, because I don't want him, as valuable as he is, I don't want him to be hung up on a 9-to-5, and that 9-to-5 is taking so much time. So much of his time, and then he's tired to do what he loves. And even if he doesn't love it, it's still it's a tool that he can utilize that most people can't do to get him where he needs to go. And not, let's get a mansion. No, let's just sustain.
Yeah, I feel like by following your bliss, you can bring other people on and give them kind of a scaffolding.
Right, like a platform.
Yeah, that's the point.
You know, platform.
That's the point. Is that I was talking about earlier? Is nobody wants to give the game out. Like, the game is whatever you possess that can help somebody. That's what I told him. Is that's what I feel like. Having not doing things on your own is giving the game out, right? So him and I we're in like this partnership, like right. I like, and we don't have contracts, we don't have this, we don't have
right.
that, we don't have
that's what messes stuff up.
That's what it's like we don't have this bullshit. It's like I
own you contracts.
Yeah,
that's
it's
what
like
it is.
it's like, bro, I believe in his bro, I believe in his like I believe in his vision. Like, I'm like, dude, this shit works, bro. This shit works. And what's crazy is that you have somebody like him that, and this is why what makes Matt different is, bro, I've been hustled before. I've been worked for people that I was like, okay, I'm gonna do videography. Like, bro, they're gonna put me on full time. Like, you know, other shit. They want to film 7 days a week and have edits pumped out every day and pay $3,000 a month. Are you fucking kidding me? Bro, they're like, but you're shooting for 4 hours. Bro, that's an hour drive time, 4 hours on location every fucking day. That's like, bro.
Editing takes a lot of time.
And exactly. And it's like, bro, you have people that and that's why I talk to him, is that people are out here trying to pimp people, and people fall to it because they don't know their value. Like, I would rather give somebody like him, someone that I believe in his vision and goes to a cause for fucking free than get paid and get punked and get paid and get pimped. I looked at a job the other day, Jake, you would not believe this. I'm like, okay, this shit, I got to go back to work, right? Maybe I'll go back and be a videographer because that's what I really love to do, okay? I know that the pay is not going to be as good as freelance. I know it's going to be as I'm building my business right now, but I'm going to go back and do something. They had a job posted, and this is, I just want to, I don't judge anybody for working a 9 to 5. I just want to wake people up. Like, this job, these are the requirements. So it's for a real estate firm. I'm doing real estate content right now. So I was like, okay, perfect, right? Build the resume. I'll do my gigs on the side. It's perfect, right? Videography, photography, 2 positions. Manage all social media. That's a marketing person. Make flyers, graphic design, and one other thing. Coordinate something else. That's coordinate like shoots and all that kind of shit. That's like
these aren't separate jobs. They're saying this is all part of your job.
This is all part of your fucking job. You know what the salary was? $40,000 a year. And what makes me sad is again, this is not a judgment. I don't want people to think this is a judgment. Somebody will fucking take that because they think that's what they're worth. I went on there and I was like, you know what? I'm going to apply to this fucking job because I did. And I'm going to wait for them to call me back. And I'm going to go in there knowing that I'm going to negotiate this. I'm not taking that. If you don't, so I looked up all the different salaries for that. In America, your average videographer makes around $55,000 a year. Your average photographer, 50. Your average marketing person, 50. Your average graphic design, 50. Add that fucking up, and somebody will take that. And then what I don't like about it is that somebody that has great talent will take that and then resent the craft. Right. They'll take that and fuck videography. Fuck this. I can't do this anymore. I can't do this shit. That happened to me. I was getting overworked and underpaid. You have to value your craft and what you're doing. And like I said, what I like so much about Matt is that And what's crazy to me is I had this, he said this to me and I was like, bro, because at this point, like I feel like we're just now like really, really, really digging into our friendship and really getting to know each other. Like this last year, we would just do jobs every once in a while. Like he hit me up, hey, can you film for me? Yeah, I'll do this for you. Can you do this for me? Kind of thing, right? He hit me up, bro, and was like, I'm applying for a grant for my program. If I was to hire you full time, how much money would you need to make? And I was like, I was scared because I was like, I don't want to, but this is how much he's asking me. Honestly, I was honest with him. I said, 75 G's a year. And that would be me working for you full time, but still able to do my own stuff. Cause he would never take that from me. He said, I'm going to ask for that. Like, I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
That's how it should go then.
That's what but it's so mind blowing because I've never had an experience like that. I've never had someone believe in me that much. And it was no question. It wasn't like this, oh no, can we negotiate that? I'm like, that's 75 grand, that's a lot of money. Do you know that's like $7,000 a month? Like, do you know that, Nate? Like, there was no fucking negotiation. He said, all right, I'm gonna ask for that in my grant. I need someone to make content. I want to pump out content all the time. He needs to run the business. Now he is what that job requires, what that job is asking for. He's a photographer, he's a videographer, he creates his own content, he does his website, he makes posters, he does all shit. He shouldn't be doing that. But guess what? Because of people that are selfish and because people don't want to build a team and they want to do everything themselves and they want to give credit to anybody else.
But they don't want to be the Bulls,
That's what I'm saying. They won't do that. So I can already fill one of his gaps before he can pay me, believing that one day it will come. And then all these things start falling into place. And then he sees the loyalty and then there's no question. Because I know that this program, bro, this fucking program is so fire. Like I really like it blows my mind that and that's what that nobody has picked it up and we don't have these contracts yet. And because what I firmly believe and what I tell him is that because it's going to be huge. Like nobody's donated $2,000 yet because this isn't a $2,000 program. You know what I mean? Right. Nobody's like, oh, hey, yeah, man, I want to support. I'm going to give you $500 for the year. It's like, what the fuck are we going to do with that? Do you know how many kids that we're touching? Like, that's why I tell him that's why I feel like it hasn't happened yet because it's that big.
And I think a lot of the stagnant part was, so I've been running this for 10 years. And the first 2010, I would say 2010 to 2014, it was like, God gave a vision, you draw the vision out. But then in doing this, I was dealing with self. So in self, I was basically like dissecting me. Mm-hmm. And so I'm trying to start a program and then have this spiritual life and then deal with self-control. Mm-hmm. And so I remember being at Lord's Gym and it was just like, I would always get tested playing basketball, and I'm like doing stuff like this. Lord, if you don't get him off of me, but it's like selfish prayer. Lord, if you don't get him off of me so I can still play basketball. When I should have been like, sign, I'm just going to leave. Now's the time to leave, right? Yeah. But my ego was like, and I don't even know if, I'm like pride, whatever at the time. Like, no, I'm not leaving. I'm going to play basketball. But then staying in that moment, I started changing. Not more like, man, I'm sorry, man. I was more like, no, you ain't gonna do nothing. No, you ain't gonna do nothing. No, I'm in his world and his level. And I remember turning my back. And as I turned my back, somebody's on my back choking me. And I'm all like, this cannot be. Because you be in environments and like, dude, remember that Lord's Gym? You know how to do Matt Young? They can shoot, do all this? Yeah, I remember him. But do you remember when he choked you out? Like when he got choked out at Lord's Gym? You don't want that humility, right? Yeah, right. So I got out, and I'm like, nah, he got me where I wanted to be now. I'm about to fight him now. So I beat the brakes off of him. But in that, it was like I wasn't thinking about the transformation that was happening over my life and just walk away. So when that was going on, the vision is already happening. I'm working in it. I'm being a leader. Don't even know it. Can't see none of this stuff. This moment happens. After I fight this dude and beat him up, this young kid walks up to me, bawling his eyes out. And he goes, you scared me. Oh, wow. You scared me. Oof. Bro, Oof. I didn't feel none of those punches or chokes, but I felt that.
Oh, dude, I bet you did.
And I cried. And I never fought that day. And then after that moment happened, it was like reconciliation started happening. And I felt like he's just a God of reconciliation. And then that just didn't end there. I'm getting threats by this dude. The dude was a gang member that I fought. I'm going to shoot you, all this stuff. That'll make you feel scary, right? Even though it didn't happen, that can put fear in your head.
Yeah, dude.
2 years later, I see him at Daddy D's. I know it's him by his walk. I could have walked in because of fear. I walked to him and I apologized to him.
Oh, damn.
And he goes, man, we were just ignorant. I said, we was, man. And reconciled. But he still had issues with me and didn't know. And next time I see him, a couple years later, we're in a church. I'm already there and he comes there. He's like, whoa. People are talking about, oh man, God gave me a car. You know, and I'm all like, that's cool and all. But what about reconciling? You know, what about like stuff like that? Forget the material stuff. So he walks in and I'm all like, oh, this gotta be nuts. He was all like, I ain't gonna lie. I was walking home. I just felt like I'm supposed to be here. And I just gave this testimony on how we fought and how we reconciled. Oh, wow. And then when I was telling this to the congregation, if they felt it or not, he gives a testimony like, I was just walking. I felt like I was led here. But what's crazy is I used to actually think Matt was a wolf in sheep's clothing. And he just was just, wow, bow. But it made me feel better because in that walk of being persecuted, people are going to speak truth. And it was just a moment of speaking truth. But it wasn't a moment where I was like, yes, this is what I've been hoping for. Yeah, right. It was more like, well done, my good and faithful servant. You're doing what you need to do.
It was a relief.
Because you want him to give you that gratification, right?
Mm-hmm. Those moments, I feel like those moments of breakthrough sometimes are exciting, but there's a lot of times where it's a relief. I feel like that happens more often.
That's right.
I feel like that happens more often. Don't flush. Because of the sound. Whatever. That's why I didn't.
We only flushed number 2.
That's why I feel like that happens to me more often is more like, oh God, because I feel like what's going on is that negative stuff. Sometimes it's subconscious. Sometimes you don't know what's going on. So when you do figure out, it's like, damn, thank God. Like, thank God I figured that out. And that's what I think is most important. We're talking about what can people do and starting like and jump starting that self-development journey. I personally think, I believe in tearing all the way down to nothing. Like, you really do have to break yourself down and you have to be honest. And that's where I feel like this grit comes from. Like, I have this, it's only negative if it's how it's spoken and how it's perceived. So if I'm honest with myself, people are honestly gonna say you're negative. Like during this time, and I have a little harder and a little tougher way of thinking. That's just it. Like when this quarantine first started, I was like, okay, the gym's closed. I have no equipment, right? I watched this Game Changers documentary. I tried to be vegan for like 3 weeks, right? Mm-hmm. But I didn't fully commit, and I couldn't let go of the meat. So I was eating all the imitation meat, and bro, it was fucking me up. My stomach, my skin, all this stuff, right? So
they say it's food.
They say it's food, but it's absolutely not. So, bro, I started to get like kind of soft, like, and I'm not used to that. You know what I mean? I'm not used to being soft. I'm not used to being bigger. I'm not used to feeling slow. So I was honest with myself. And a lot of people say, oh, you're so harsh. That's so harsh. Because I'm hitting something in them that they don't like. So if I'm gonna look at myself and like, yo, I'm fat. Like, that's my standard. Just because your standard is lower, that doesn't mean that it's negative. Just because you think differently. To identify your weaknesses is important, but a lot of people will avoid their weaknesses. The reason I got a trainer is because I know I have
to find them. That's
exactly. But what I'm saying is not a lot of people want to do this because they think it's negative. I identify my weaknesses, and that's where I started my self-development. Was identifying my weaknesses. Right now, like I said, the way that I jump and the way that I move and the way that I run and the way that I work out and the way that I look, people think it's fine. It's not fine. That's why I have a trainer, because I know I still have weaknesses. I'm trying to take it to the next fucking level. I'm on this, I love, thinking positive and thinking this way. I got a fucking coach because everybody that I know has a coach. Eric Thomas is my Michael Jordan. He has a coach, and he's the number one motivational speaker in the world, and he has a fucking coach. Why do we think that we're better than that? We can't. If anything, we should be, and that's what, like, with Matt, like, when he mentors kids too, and they talk about, like, and Matt will be like, what do you think LeBron's doing? I'm not LeBron. If you're not LeBron, you should be doing more than what LeBron's doing.
Right.
That's the fucking point, but people miss out on that. Yeah. And that's why I think that identifying your weaknesses is so important. And I'm humbled every time I go to this trainer because he knows my weaknesses, because if I hid them, I'd be doing myself an injustice. I came here because my ankle's locked up and because both my hips are locked up both ways. What are we doing? Right? He had me doing this exercise and I filmed it and I fucking posted it. He had me doing this exercise. He had me at a 15-pound dumbbell, one 15-pound dumbbell. I had to go down and basically do like a side squat, but my outside foot was on a slider. So I had to slide my outside foot. So I would go directly down, right? Slide my outside foot up and lift a weight at the same time. So I as soon as I start to slide my foot, I collapse, right? That's a 15. He's like, oh yeah, just try it again. I'm like, all right, cool. And then I go, can't do it. He's like, let's drop the weight. I'm like, all right, cool. Go to 10. As soon as I start to slide my foot, once I go past a certain point, I lose all feeling in my hip and I don't come back up. So I get to this point and I'm stuck there. I'm halfway down. He's like, just stand up. And I'm like, bro, I can't. He's like, oh, okay, let's get a 5. I'm like, all right, okay, cool. Whatever. And same thing, 5 pound. And then this is where I think what makes people fucking soft and what makes people not able to get on this development journey. And and the only reason I talk fitness so much is because fitness, to me, exercise stimulates the mind. And it makes you, it's the easiest way to set you up for success. I said I was going to do something, I do it, it's an accomplishment right there. It's the easiest way. People are in such a long process. When am I going to get my first investor, right? 10 years? If I go out and run, I just made myself feel good in 10 minutes. It's such an easy way to do it. And then this is where I notice the difference starts coming in is my trainer's like, oh no, it's all good, bro. Like, tell people that, your trainer even has a hard time doing it. I'm like, bro, I don't care what people fucking think about me.
Tell people anything,
right?
Fuck it.
And bro, and I went down to no weight and I still couldn't do it with no weight. And he was like, it's all good. Like, a lot of people can't do this. And I'm like, dude, you're missing the fucking point. This is why I'm here. This is why I'm fucking here. This is what I want. I want to do this exercise every fucking time I train. We end on this exercise and that's what I'm doing.
Right.
Like, that's the point, is identify your fucking weaknesses, because what people don't get is that sharpening and always working and highlighting your strengths doesn't make your weaknesses go away. It makes your weaknesses weaker. But people fail to see that. The more that the weakness goes underneath, the more that it's swept underneath the rug, the more that you're sliding in DMs and you want to hide it, the more the porn you watch and all this kind of shit, the more those things just get swept underneath the rug. I talk disrespectful to my girl, but she won't leave me, so, we're just going to sweep that under the rug. Like, the more that shit goes underneath the rug and goes underneath unsaid, uncomfortable means growth. That's why when people get to the point where they're working out and the lactic acid starts to build up and oh no, it hurts, it's enough. It's like, bro, you have at least 10, 20 more reps in you, 100%. Yeah. Your mind beats your body every fucking time. And that's why I just relate fitness so much to self-development, because exactly what it is. Pain equals growth. Right. Pain equals growth. That's it.
I think it's important for anybody to have, like, whatever your form of athleticism is.
Exactly.
Like dude, that movement, like,
movement. It's literally just movement.
A state change. Yeah. So, like, if you're feeling bummed, like, so what I do, like, today, for example, I was feeling, I didn't feel like I was fully, like, I didn't think that I could show up and be the best podcast host that I could be. So, like, 2 hours before you guys got here, I was like, I'm going to go on my run. I'm going to go do it before I go do this podcast. And so I run and I'm like, okay, where I'm at today is not 100%. My mental isn't in the best place. I can cry about that. I can sit at home. I can not do anything about it. I can maybe self-loathe.
You can fucking do something about it.
I know what works because I've tested myself and I pushed myself. So I'm going to go on a run. I'm going to put on The Art of War I listened to this morning as I was running today. And then like by the end of my run, I feel great. My body feels good. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I can do whatever I need to do. It's okay that I don't feel as good as I did on this podcast, you know?
So for anybody that heard that, what he said is what I said is in a more articulated way, and a way for I personally feel like majority or more people will understand. What you said was I can feel like it's not okay, and I can feel this way and I can feel that way. But what I said is exactly what you said earlier. I said I can either be fucking soft and I can be whatever, or I know what works and I can go do it.
Accept that.
People
I'm soft.
know.
Accept that I'm soft. You don't want to do that.
People know what works. You know what works, and that's what you get. This I don't know is victim mentality. Sometimes you truly don't know, but I just have this weird sense of knowing that people do know what makes them happy. They do know what makes them feel good. They do know what makes them disappointed. If you wake up every day and you're disappointed, you need to change your whole fucking lifestyle. And that's why I say that you have to dial all the way down to the bone. Get to the very bottom. Strip everything away. If you have something pulling you, get rid of it. If you have things that are pulling you back, get rid of them. That's everything. That includes people, that includes vices, that includes materials, everything. Get rid of all the shit. I was watching the latest, the second, or I don't know how many times he's been on there, Elon Musk and Joe Rogan. He's selling all his shit.
Yeah, I saw that too.
He's selling all of his stuff. The dude that started Tesla, he's getting rid of all his stuff. He said, because I don't want people to think that I'm just that. That's crazy. He has like all these.
That's purpose, bro.
That's what I'm saying.
Purpose.
Yeah,
that's service.
Exactly.
He's doing something that's bigger than just himself.
And what's crazy to me is that how many people would do that because they're defined by. He knows he's not defined by what he has. He's defined by who he is. And nobody would want to do that. And what I think is that he was just so cool, calm, and collected about it. Joe was like, "What are you gonna do? Rent a house?" He's like, "Yeah, probably. I don't know. I mean, I'll probably keep a couple of my cars because he owns the company. Right. But yeah, I'm selling all my stuff, all my houses. I have too much stuff."
And it's funny.
He's gonna still have money.
Well, he's not gonna have all the bullshit that goes with it.
Right. You know.
Well, all right. Well, so we're getting up here in time, boys. I want to let's send it off with a few minutes about fear. I think we should just dial in on fear. I mean, I think it's something that like everybody knows it exists. Everybody has it. Everybody like, I mean, whether you're like, oh, it's the amygdala response in my brain, or oh, it's the fight or flight, or oh, it's, you know, like there's so much info about fear that for me, man, when you start to understand it, when you start to like peel back that onion layer you're talking about, like you start to learn about yourself. Cause like when you learn about your fears, you learn like, oh, okay, that's why I had that fear. Now I can attack it. So Matt, what do you got on fear? I mean,
go in on that when you're talking about the fear of the bugs.
Oh,
this is bars. It's so simple, but it's bars.
No, it's just like, so you know how it is. So we have our girls, and it's crazy because our girls are watching an example of somebody that's scared of bugs. And when you look at these younger girls, they're taught how to be fearful of bugs.
Fear is taught.
You know, and I believe that fear is taught is like what you make. So if you're taught that, and then you see the demonstration of that, when it's your time, you react. And our little girls are like that. And then there's times where I say, "Why are you scared? Who told you to be scared?" And they always say, "Well, mommy's scared." And I feel like we give them that validation, or we give them that, okay, it's not okay, basically. And so, yeah, and that's what I think it is. But it's taught behavior. Just like racism is taught behavior. Just like the things that we're doing, it's taught. You know, and
well, it's kind of, dude, when you say it's taught, it's literally like that someone's always watching sort of thing. Right. Like it's not like we're purposely trying to teach like bugs are inherently scary. You got to remember that. Don't forget that. Yeah. It's like our reactions and the things we do. Like there's always a little one looking up. You know, what do you're always teaching someone around you at all times. Like
right.
I feel like fear comes from a lack of preparation. Like. So right now, perfect example, okay? If we feel like we're fearful because we're going to get sick, because our jobs aren't going to reopen, they're going to cut the unemployment off, they're going to pull the plug on our podcast or our show because we're speaking truth, they're going to block us on Facebook, they're going to make us not post, they're going to kick us off Twitter and Instagram and all that shit. To me, it's like you can't somebody can't take something from you that you don't give them. Like, there's no way. To me, if I'm grounded in who I am, what I believe in, and acting in what I feel like I'm called to be, you can't take anything from me that I can't get back. And that's why I feel like right now we live in fear. We're not living in abundance. We're living in fear. They can take this. They can take that. I'm worried about getting sick. I'm prepared. I've prepared my mind. I've prepared my body. I'm not going to get sick. Like, it's crazy because I got sick more in, I think it was 2018. I got sick more in 2018 than I did in the 3 years prior that I was working 2 jobs. And it was crazy because I had been doing this manifesting shit before I even knew what it was. I would go into Nike every single day. I would drink that vitamin C bullshit every single day, and I would and people would be like, "Why do you drink that?" Because I'm like, I don't get sick. I'm a fucking machine. I don't get sick, bro. I got 3 to 4 hours of sleep 7 days a week for 3 fucking years, and I didn't get sick one fucking time. But the second I was like in my head and I was feeling down, and I'm not good enough, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that, my stomach starts flaring up again. I start getting sick. I was getting colds like every couple weeks. In 2018 I was getting colds because I was my relationship, I was like burying all this shit that I wasn't dealing with, and I was holding it in me, and I was acting in fear, and I was acting in all this shit. And I just truly believe that when you prepare yourself, when you build this character that we are, like when you build up your character, the man that gets judged when no one is around and when he gets nothing in return, and you can't take something from a man like that. And people like that are fucking dangerous. And those are the people that we have fear in. Like, power to me comes from somebody that doesn't have a fear that you can't take everything that they have and they won't get it all back. Because to me, I know that what's valuable to me right now is my brand and the self-development thing and my bike that I have going on, my business. I've built all that and I have all that going for me, that I know that if all that was stripped from me, I know exactly how to get it back. Right now, if your job is taken from you, a lot of people that are doing stuff, that are being those free slaves that we talked about, they don't have any ground that to be like, well, if they take that away, what the fuck am I going to do? Oh my God, how am I going to pay my rent? How am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to pay my mortgage? How am I going to pay my car? I don't have any of that shit to worry about because I know what I value. And my value is not a car. I don't have a car payment. I don't have a high rent. I don't live in a place I can't afford. I don't have a fucking credit card payment. I have zero fucking debt. Zero debt. Zero. Because I know that I don't value that bullshit. So it can't be taken from me. And if you take something from me, if I get canceled, if I get shut off, if I lose my job, if you cut off this, if you cut off that, if you cut off my income stream, I'll get it all back. There's no fear in that for me. There's no fear of me getting sick. That's why I don't wear a mask. And if anybody's offended, I'm sorry. I don't wear one because I'm not afraid of getting sick. They already told us that they weren't fucking necessary. Now they are. Now I don't believe it. Now I don't believe the whole fucking thing.
Well, you know, when you were speaking and stuff, I started thinking about another thing, how fear can creep into you too, as well as when you don't have identity, and when you don't have value.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I mean. So like when you're grounded in who you are, right. when you have built that, when the man that gets judged, when he gets nothing in return, when he has nothing, and when no one is around, that's your identity. I know who I am. I know what I value. I know what I can do. I know what skills I have. Like, all those things make it so we don't operate in fear. I guess the craziest thing would be like, you know, what if they shut the world down? What if they start forcing these vaccinations, right? The people that are scared, like, you don't see people with military training tripping about this shit at all, because they're like, if something happens and they're forcing shit, I know what I'm supposed to do. Like, I'm already trained in that. There is no fear for me. These people that are scared are the people that are afraid of things that I personally don't think exist. And then also too, if they do start forcing shit, you just say, oh fuck, okay. I mean, that's where I feel like preparation is what I mean, is what stops you from fear. I'm not nervous in my game because I've prepared, right? I'm not nervous in my speech because I'm prepared. There is no fear because I've prepared.
Right.
There's no fear because I've developed.
Right.
Development is, to me, is what stops fear. Like, I'm not scared to go home to my girl because I don't go home late. You know what I mean? I don't say I'm gonna be somewhere and I'm not there. I'm not out with the fucking boys at the bar. That's why I don't fear going home. That's what, because I act in, and I built my character, and I built my identity. This is what I do. This is what I don't do. This is what I represent. This is what I won't represent. This is what I can build back, even if you take it all from me. I know that the person that I am. If you know the person that you are, there's no reason to live in fear.
Yeah, it's pretty powerful. I was trying to think of like preparedness, because I get what you mean when you say preparedness.
I don't know how to articulate it. That's
No,
the only thing that can come.
So, I mean, it's kind of like with me, planning kind of comes in like, so like if I'm about to go DJ a gig, like I spend a lot of hours before the weeks before, the day of, whatever, like making sure my playlists are ready to roll. So I could have no fear of like, oh shit, what if I don't have the right song? And I know that's a simplified version of what you're saying. But like, I'm prepared. I know what's going on. I know my library. And so you can take that as your own personality. Like once you understand yourself, you're like, I know my inner library.
Exactly.
I know the things that spark my fear, and I'm going to make sure that I don't have those things.
Yeah. So I guess I don't know. Yeah. So I guess preparation would be the only word that I feel like I can think of. But I mean, so when this like pandemic hit, I was managing a restaurant, and all my employees that I was managing were all laid off. Everyone was freaking the fuck out. Freaking out. What are we going to do? Are we getting unemployment? Are we getting this? Are we getting that? I had money. I was literally not tripping at all. I was like, bro, we about to get a vacation. This is dope. I was prepared. I feel like there's just like, I just feel like there's certain things that just have to, I don't know. I'm on this path where I just want to, I don't know if it's because I have a child on the way. I don't know what it is. I just want to do, I feel like I want to dial all the way back to like caveman style shit and get prepared in that. Like I've never owned a gun. I've never shot a gun. I just picked up a gun this year. I bought a gun. I got all my shit. I'm prepared. Right. I want to do some sort of MMA. I'm probably going to do jiu-jitsu, and I'm going to take a military tactical training class. Like I'm prepared. I'm not afraid of whatever's coming if I'm prepared.
So you're not just sitting in that fear. You're like, okay, these things are going to come up. I might be actually afraid for like my family's life. So what I'm going to do to be prepared is I'm going to learn about guns, right?
Also, but that takes humility, right? So I actually had a conversation with my girl the other day, which was very, very humbling for me, because I finally was like, I have to have this conversation. I've been stopping it. Fight or flight, okay? My girl is fight, I'm flight. Do you know how hard it is for a male to talk about that? I turned on the music. We're driving back from the beach. I turned on the music. I was like, babe, I have to ask you something. Like, this is a really hard question for me to ask you as your partner, as the leader of this relationship, as this and as that. You know that I'm flight. How do I work on that? Like, because I want to be the leader. I want to be in the front line.
I'm not going to let that flight cut my ankles, because I see that this
exactly,
is better than that.
And I think what it is that she was like, you have to disconnect emotion from the situation, because that's what happened. The only situation that we've experienced together was when my dog was seizing, and we had to run her to the hospital. I pick her up, and I'm like, why is this happening? What is she doing? Oh my God, like, what the fuck are we going to do? She's like, pick her up and put her in the car.
Yeah.
And we'll go.
Yeah, what's next?
And I'm like, how do you, I was like blown away, right? But identifying your weaknesses is to be prepared. Like, it's hard for me at 20 years old to walk into a gun shop and think this dude's not going to judge me. You know what I mean? And I'm like, hey man, I've never shot a gun before. Like, what would be a good, you know what I mean? Those kind of things. Like, I'm going to walk in and be like, honestly, I'm not the best fighter. I'm really not. That's why I don't fight. But preparation.
If you think you're the best fighter, you're never even going to walk in there, though, because you don't got shit to learn.
Yeah. I just feel like preparation is what.
Preparation, wherever we can, I think, like, to put a pin in like everything we kind of said, you know, the preparation that we can all do as individuals is really like all we can actually do, meaning the spiritual side, like the self-worth, the self-growth.
I think it all ties in together.
Yeah, dude, that's how you can prepare. And then when you're prepared, you have less fear, because they're trying to sell everybody fear right now. They're trying to like tell you what to be mad about, tell you what to do, like whatever. But when you can read the exact same information and know like, okay, maybe that's a scary thing, but I'm good because I got this prepared, or I'm good because I'm working on that. I'm learning about this sort of thing. I mean, it's such a state of fear right now that's like out of our control. It's like you can't even help this shit from like, so, but maybe it's not out of your control. So turn off notifications. How about that? Take a break from these social medias. Like that'll help you out with fear.
That's what I feel like. I feel like common fear would be what you were talking about, identity. When I was kind of talking about preparation, I feel like this kind of fear, to ground and be grounded in that, to know that it's completely fucking out of your control. That's why I'm not fearful. I literally, I know that a lot of people say every vote counts, every voice counts. I firmly believe that I personally, the way that I believe in it, that I'm not going to go protest and I'm not going to go down there and risk my life and my freedom and all that kind of stuff because I have other people that I need to care about that are close to me. I think in my actions, my voice doesn't count. So I know that it's out of my hands. So that's why there's no reason for me to be scared. They're going to do whatever they do. And then we have to react. And that's it. And then you get prepared for your reaction. So what's going to happen if this? Have those conversations. What's going to happen if that? That's why I just feel like I don't know what other way to put it other than being prepared. And prepared and knowing that it's completely out of your hands. It's complete. All this shit that's going on right now, protest, coronavirus, they're gonna do what they do, and we have to react, and that's it.
They're over the intercom telling us to fire our lasers and our guns at each other, man. But
and we're putting holes in our own boat.
Don't put holes in your own boat. Look around you, dude. I love it. Listener, take care of yourself. Let's give one more Vancouver Elite Outreach. Give me where do I find your your stuff?
Yeah, so man, if you want to find me, you can go to our website. It's www.vancouvereliteoutreach@gmail. Or no. .org. My bad. .org. So www.vancouvereliteoutreach.org, and you can find us on YouTube. Hashtag VEO Young. You can find us on Instagram as well at Vancouver Elite Outreach. And don't be shy right now. We're just making some moves, and you may not can donate, but maybe you want to buy some merch, whatever, man. All that stuff means the world to us because we want to be able to be the change that we want to see. So yeah.
100%. I love it, dude. And I checked out your website too, and I just love like the mission statements. I watched some of the videos on there. It's like, I love what you guys represent. I love it's tight. And then Nate, I'm sure people probably heard you on my podcast before, but go ahead and plug yourself real quick.
Nasty Nate Jr. on Instagram. I'm actually, I got my own merch going on right now. I dropped a That Wasn't Shit shirt. I got a little video coming out that kind of tells the story behind it, and I've told it on this podcast before, but it's kind of like it's a millennial, grittier version of this Too Shall Pass kind of thing. I got another shirt coming out soon, so hit me up on Instagram. I'm doing sales off there for right now. It's been the easiest, and look out for more stuff.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, listener, if you know anybody in your life that could benefit from this conversation or anything that we're doing, just plug it. Just take a screen recording, do something, just send it to somebody, just share it. I mean, we're all three doing this kind of out of purpose. So we're, whatever the listener can do to share, and if it spoke to you, then speak it to other people. So take care of yourselves. Peace out. Impermanence, death, the end of life. Do you think about this often? Life. Do you think about the fact that life is intertwining with death? Don't you know this? Check out my piece on YouTube titled Jacob from the Internet, a thought piece on impermanence. Have a good day.